So familiar.
Now that's funny.
That's some funny shit right there.
Oh my God, that's some funky shit.
Funky Cold Medina.
Oh, like Spuds McKenzie.
Or Slurms McKenzie.
Slurs
A
McKenzie.
wimmy wham wham wazzle.
And I just want to go home.
Go to sleep.
Just want to go to sleep. That's right.
Cat's in early tonight.
Podcast.
We need this
Nothing but
podcast.
podcast.
Oh,
All right,
man.
ready?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, let's go.
Shh. Wait, are you doing the ad again?
Yeah.
Damn it! I thought we just did the ad.
No, but I don't feel like editing it in.
Oh, that was just warm up.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Let me take this bracelet off so I don't clink as much. All right, hang on. Okay, wait. Shh, shh.
Plus, it should be on the stream anyway.
Okay. Shh, shh, shh. It's okay.
Ready?
Is the stream on?
Mm-hmm.
I got
Are we
the
streaming?
swirly
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
Pops.
and we're recording.
I'm swirling.
We're streaming. We're recording.
Okay, I feel it. I'm feeling it. Like the rhythm of the night.
It's the rhythm of the night. Oh, sorry.
That's Billy Joel.
I know.
No, not that one.
River Dreams.
No, like, what was the band?
I don't know.
No, Bob knows. It's
There
an
we
80s tune.
Okay, let's start.
You hate 80s stuff. Don't worry about it. We expect you not to know.
5, 4. Hey, Phil, buddy, old pal. What's going on?
Hey, Chris. I was just reading some ad copy that Jason Pitt wrote for us. I can't believe how many poutine references he put in here. I mean, I'll edit them out. Don't worry about it.
Well, so, I mean, this is ad copy? that we're reading?
Yeah, we're totally Deadpooling it up this episode. Anyway, Jason wanted everybody to know that SIG, his cosmopolitan planar fantasy role-playing game, is now available at Indie Press Revolution, and that there's no good poutine in Toronto.
What does that have to do with role-playing games?
I seriously, you had to have like stayed up late at Breakout to kind of get the how those two joined together. But trust me,
You're talking about the 45-minute diatribe about how poutine is not poutine.
not
poutine is
diatribe.
poutine.
It was more like a graduate thesis.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose we should get back to the book. And the book, SIG, Manual of the Primes, not Manual of the Planes.
Manual of the Primes, like numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is quite a beautiful book. This is one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen.
Oh, it's like the shiniest book on the market. It's got like the coolest cover if you've never seen it.
Mhm, and the game's really good, too.
Yeah, I mean, we've played the game a bunch of times on our Sunday morning story games, and I love that game, right? It's a fantastic scene-setting game.
Yep, I like how you have to use your spark and your smoke in order to figure out who is going to be the person that sets scenes and takes control.
Yeah, I like the cities, really cool. Really cool. It's a really funky place.
Yeah, it's funky, and two, it's got this really cool mechanism how the city changes, where a different plane will disconnect from the city, and then a new plane will connect and change everything.
Yeah, very, very, very cool stuff. Very, very fun game to play.
Well, with that, I think anyone out there who's listening to this, you should go pick up SIG.
Available now at Indie Press Revolution.
And now on with the show.
This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
It's his adventure. It's his table. The game master of 72 Whooping Cough Lane, Chris Sneezak.
And welcome to the 303rd episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast. Is that where we're at right now?
303.
303, baby.
That's insanity right there, if you ask me. And on this episode, we're going to talk about table control. All those little tips and tricks and things about when you are at the table actually running the game, how you can keep the game on track. And, it's a lot of social body cue language and game master tips that we're going to get into. But before we do all that, first I shall say, Phil, buddy, old pal, what is going on?
What's going on?
Also, I completely forgot to say my name is Chris.
My name is Phil.
And I'm Old Man Logan.
Sorry about that.
That's better.
Bit of a different opening, so.
Yeah. We went with the Bob opening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For you youngins, Remote Control, Senda, was a TV show on MTV in the 1980s.
It was a game show.
Yes. It was damn funny, actually. Anyway, what's going on with me? I got to play some stuff this week.
Neat.
Like, I got to play a couple things. Last Wednesday, I played a game of Cartel with Mark Diaz Truman, who was on the show. on Tuesday, right? So I got to play with him Wednesday with Kate Bullock and Rich Rogers and Rach Shelke.
So our friends from the Gauntlet.
It was amazing. It actually streamed, so somewhere you can find it on you can find the actual episode on YouTube.
Nice.
I almost died, and at the last minute saved my own bacon. It was nice. Kate played La Narca, and I was her spouse, and it was quite amazing. And Rach played the police officer, and Rich played the Sicario, the hitman. And Rich and I had like a really cool scene. Like I got to have like this really cool scene with Rich, which was awesome because I've only ever played a game where he's game mastered. So this was like the first time we got to like do a scene together. So it was really cool. So I did that. Thursday was my birthday, and I did a thing with the kids, had birthday cake, and then that night I played some DCC.
Oh, very nice.
I'm learning that while DCC is a pretty hardcore game, it kind of takes it easy in terms of how the encounters are done at first level. Like, there's a lot more exploration than fighting because you can die so much easier. So there's like a few fighty encounters, but there's a lot more exploration encounters. And the players have found themselves in a very interesting location. So we're playing Frozen in Time.
Nice.
I don't want to spoil anything because Bob's here, but I think Bob's catching on. This place
I got
isn't
a pretty good idea what's going on.
right. Something's going down. And then Sunday, as if I didn't get enough gaming in, Sunday we played Urban Shadows.
We did. Actually, it was a pretty good session too.
Yeah. Let's see. I screwed over a bunch of people, cashed in 1 million points of debt, and screwed over my lover as I ran out with a ran out and left his broken ass on the ground as I took a magical tome.
That'll be former lover.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's no bouquet that no bouquet that apologizes to him. Sorry, I left you on the ground, burned out from that magical entropic bolt. But magical tome, demon. No, no, definitely a breakup moment in the game.
Yeah.
It was good. You tempted me well. I could get away or I could save him.
Yeah.
But demon's got to do what a demon's got to do.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And now you're like partially in charge of the city as far as
Oh,
that demon.
I don't think
goes.
that worked out quite. The only tangible result that it's had for me is that it wiped my debt with my boss.
And you got your
Yep.
own office.
Oh, none of that's gonna whatchamacallit. None of that's gonna work out for me.
No.
No, it's hell. There's no promotions in hell.
It's true.
Yeah. The only thing it really did was got rid of my debt. Which is okay because I don't need his ass like bugging me every 5 minutes. Anyway, super fun. And so I did my birthday stuff. And my daughter got her black belt.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she
Go
kicked some
Rosie.
serious ass. I was super proud of her. She really brought her A game to her test, and she was fantastic. So I have 2 black belts now in my house, and it's pretty damn awesome. So anyway, what about you, Robert?
Yeah, I too had a birthday. Imagine that. Mine was super uber mellow. I just kind of hung out at home and chilled and drank a little whiskey. But that was Monday before we did our show last week. So I kind of had a birthday before we did the show. But
Here, real quick, in celebration of both Bob and Phil's birthday.
Oh no.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob and Phil. Happy birthday to you.
Ooh, kind of went for that note, huh?
oh yeah.
Oh.
So anywhoozle, yeah, we had DCC as Phil said on Thursday, and it's very, very non-dungeon like. It's this very bizarre place with these white walls and floors that are like bright, and there's these tubes that you walk into and you float up, and there's this weird stuff, and it's very our poor little villager people that are first level are trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
I think the
So-
fun part is Glenn has figured out how the magic system works. Like there are no
Yes.
spell slots, and as long as you don't fail the roll, you don't have to give up the spell. Mm-hmm. So like every time there's an encounter, Glenn's like, "I'm casting a spell," like,
Yep.
and because you don't even know what you're gonna get. So like he's got this what is it, force manipulation, and it does everything from creates a force bolt that does damage to creates like a wall of force, and you just don't know like when you roll it, it's
Yeah,
like
no clue what you're going to get.
well, whichever one you get. So
Good times. So yeah, that and then Urban Shadows on Sunday, as they said. My character, the ghost, the spirit, got himself in hot water with the Elkman, who is a member of the Wild faction, and ended up ending the session going into servitude in the wildlands for a year and a day.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, next time we play that game, which we're taking a bit of a break to play Legacy, and then we're going to play some Monster of the Week, I think.
Yep.
But I think we'll get back to Urban Shadows because there's
will.
the next story will be first stories are always hard. They're like pilots, right?
yes,
oh yeah, it was definitely. I mean, it's a good first arc, right? Like shit went down. I think we got a feel for how the debt system worked, and making deals. Like the moves in that game are really interesting because the moves for that game are not about doing heroic stuff. Like the moves in that game are very much about like wheeling and dealing, lying to people, those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And how that all like plays back into it.
Right.
exactly. So yeah, that the only other thing going on with me is I'm gearing up to start doing a whole bunch of freelance stuff. I got some Third Eye Game stuff coming. I'm going to be doing work for Angry Hamster for Familiars of Terra, which
Nice.
I need to pimp that Kickstarter.
Which is
a little bit.
kickstarting right now.
Yep, that just started.
You should
so
find
yeah,
you should find the information on that so we can talk about it later.
absolutely. So yeah, Chris, what about you, man?
So I went to a small convention this past weekend called WeOnaCon, which is at a campground out in the middle of the country, and there was like about 15 people there. I played mostly board games all weekend, which was tons of fun. I play a lot of board games. I think I played a dozen board games. I played a game called Trader Mechanic, which
The game is called Trader Mechanic.
yeah,
And there's a trader.
mechanic in
Like
it.
literally a mechanic, right?
Yeah, because you're actually working on cars, like that's part of the game. So you're a mechanic, and somebody in the game is actually a trader. It's a very simple game, but it's funny just for the fact that it's called Trader Mechanic. But the game design is actually pretty solid on it. Played this game called Nox. Played
Submarine game, that crazy ass submarine game.
Yeah, this Sonar Captain Sonar or something like that. Like it's a real time sub game where you're two people fighting. Two groups on subs fighting each other, like Hunt for Red October.
Oh, it's called Captain Sonar.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Like that game, I highly recommend that game to anybody. It's one of the best 8-player games I've ever played. It's one of the better real-time games I've ever played. It's better than Escape, and I love Escape.
Whoa, wow.
That's some
Better
high
than
praise
Escape?
Right there.
Yeah,
Oh, I loves me. I mean, you know my love for Escape. I mean, the first 2 times you played, after the third time you played in a row, like my heart rate shoots through the roof.
Yeah, you really have to have breaks.
I have to admit, Captain Sonar sounds like a 40s audio drama.
Captain Sonar.
Traveling through the sea,
When
Yeah,
last we
fighting the
left our
Nazis.
intrepid adventurers.
Captain Sonar.
yeah. So Rob Eberzato in the chat room, he's like, "There's a company that makes games that makes that game Trader Mechanic. They made a game called Deck Builder where you're building a deck, but it's also building a deck.
I actually have seen that.
A
Yes.
deck building game where you build a deck.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
called Deck Builder.
Damn it.
It's funny, right? Like that stuff's just hilarious. I like when people get clever like that. Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of games. It was fun. I had a good time.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really all I did. Like, we played Urban Shadows, but I've been working on stuff constantly since Tuesday because the QCC Kickstarter's coming up, so I've been
Sure
like,
is.
pounding that together. And, I mean, there's a billion other things that are going on.
I got like all sorts of like weirdly jammed up. Like I came out of Breakout and got like no breaks to do anything. Like I was really frazzled yesterday. I mean, here was how my week went, right? Like breakout. I went right to work. Right, bad. No drop management. Right, went right to work. Did the show with you guys. Played Cartel. Played DCC for my birthday. My parents came in on Friday for my daughter's black belt test. Went to the black belt test. Saturday, my parents are in town, which means I can't do anything productive. Like I have to entertain them, which means like we sat and watched TV. Although I did take my dad to go see Black Panther because he hadn't seen it, and I was like, "Need to fix that. Like we need to rectify this situation before Infinity War comes out. You'll need to see Black Panther." So come Monday, like I was freaking out. Like I went to work. I went to work in the morning. Like I was like a mess. I was like, I don't have any control over anything. I don't know what's going on. Like, and so like yesterday and today, like I had to seriously clamp down on getting shit done so that I could have some sort of sense of control. You know what I did do last night though? Send and I recorded episode 100 of Pandas Talk Games.
Get out.
Yep. Episode 100.
That's crazy, dog.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you another thing about the network. She's a Super Geek is about to have a musical review episode.
oh yes. That's been
It's a thing.
That's a thing. It's being worked on. Very cool. Very cool stuff. Anyway, I'm feeling better. I'm also hopped up on sugar and caffeine because you bought us coffee and donuts.
If anybody saw on Twitter,
Yeah.
At this point, if you're in the chat room, you saw it earlier. If you're listening to this next week, then it was last week on Twitter.
Right.
Paula's Donuts, and Tim Hortons Coffee.
Right. For people who aren't from around here, Paula's Donuts is like the shit for donuts around here. Like it is like it's the best place. It doesn't do crazy donuts. Like, there are places like Voodoo Donut and stuff like that do all these like crazy donuts. They don't do those. They just make really good donuts. Like classic donuts, just really good.
Word.
Emily was in the chat room saying, "Congratulations on 100 fake shows."
Yes. Yes. If anything, we are consistent, right? Like we just keep making more fake shows.
I hear DJ Light 101 is going to be doing some of the radio work for the Pandas Talking. For the She's a Super Geek episode. I mean, maybe DJ Light 100 will slip in a Pandas reference or two in there, in the script that he got, because it's not a fake show; it's a real show. They should just admit it since they're part of the network now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to admit, Pandas is a real show now.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, so here's a fun thing that I've done. I don't know if you would qualify this as fun. I got to help mark up a like 700 points on a map of Midgard for John Arcadian. That is going to be like, I'm pretty sure is eventually going to be on a website where you can put in the name of a thing and it'll just instantly go to it.
Oh, all right. So I've seen this, right? Like John was experimenting with some like zoomable map kind of stuff, like almost like a Google Maps thing, right? For Midgard. And this is like putting in the coordinates and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, I just did 700 of those.
By hand?
Yeah.
Oh.
John helped me figure out. John put together a couple tools, but I basically entered 700 or so coordinates.
Oh, it's a lot of data.
It only took about 5 hours.
Okay, still a lot of data.
It wasn't easy, I'll tell you that much. Anyways, that been writing and editing podcasts and putting stuff out, and yeah, all sorts of stuff. All right, let's do some announcements. Sound like a good plan? April ad sale. So you heard one at the beginning of the show with Jason Pitt.
Except Jason didn't show up on time, so he did not hear.
You can hear it when it comes out, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Jason.
So you can buy ad space with us from starting now and through the month of April. So like these ads don't have to all run in April, but you can buy ad space with us through the month of April for $30. And what you get is a pre-roll ad on Misdirected Mark, Down with D&D, or Pandas Talking Games, your choice. Plus ad space on the Queen City Conquest website in the form of a graphic no larger than 500 by 500 pixels with a link to your product or website. And that graphic will also be in the QCC con book.
Sweetness.
That sounds like a sweet deal.
Yeah, it is. $30. That's all it costs for that.
I wonder if I should do that for Whirlwind Millionaire.
Yeah, you could totally do that for Whirlwind
Can
Millionaire.
we talk about Whirlwind Millionaire for a second?
We should totally talk about Whirlwind Millionaire. By the way, that money, it gets split between Lake Effect Gaming, which is the organization that owns the QCC, to help put together the QCC, and Misdirected Mark, which will help us do things like, have fun things at Origins and also have fun things at the QCC.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, tell me about Whirlwind Millionaire.
Whirlwind Millionaire is a solo RPG about what happens after you win the lottery. It's a card game that you play with a few dice, a little bit of paper, and these event cards. and you play out a story about what happens after you win the lottery. Did you squander your fortune? Did you lose your health or sanity while trying to maintain your money, or did you make it out the other side prosperous and happy? It's coming out on Drive-Thru Cards. We just approved the proofs, so the cards are good. Tim signed off on them. Chris is actually going to do an actual play.
I am. I'm going
Yep.
to record an actual play of Roll a Millionaire. I'm going to play it. And
Yeah.
record it and then release it.
Yeah, so we're going to do an actual play and release it. And in the next couple weeks, sometime in the month of April, we're going to release Whirlwind Millionaire on Drive-Thru Cards, and it will cost less than 2 Powerball tickets.
It's $5.95.
$5.95 for a deck of 21 cards plus the rules for playing the game.
Yes.
And then you can find out how you do if you won the lotto.
Do you have any other announcements that we want to throw out there?
I think we've got a.
I think we're
ready to do some ads.
Let's do another ad copy then.
One ad, man.
Sure.
You know I love ad copy. We should do a whole show of ad copy.
Oh, sure. I could just collect all of the ad copy that we do.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, put it out as a bonus, right? One
Oh,
of these days.
a bonus.
April Fool's
Yeah.
episode. All right, so here we go.
Are your regular fantasy weapons getting you down?
Do you wish you could teleport to the many moons of Rakirta, the underworld, or even the astral plane?
Are you bored of playing Tolkien dwarves?
Then you should pick up Conjure Hagalus.
Conjure Hagen Dazs.
What? Bob, what are you singing?
Did you just sing about ice cream?
That's
It-
not right.
No, it's not ice cream. It's Conjure Hagalaz. It's an RPG about explorers, investigators, espionage, and anthropomorphic badgers wielding sword chucks. Holy shit!
I know, right, Bob? Man, this is
Sword chucks.
it's a supernatural fantasy world. It's got kitsune, druids, cryomancers, all sorts of exotic and weird stuff.
It has the Fate Weave mechanism, which ties all the characters together.
Yeah, and you can teleport around using your moon portal power, so you can get epic, exotic, and extreme right away.
So what you're saying basically is it's the Baskin Robbins of RPGs.
No, more ice cream puns.
I mean, at least that one made a lot more sense, right?
Yeah. Anyway, Conjure Hagalaz is available at Drive-Thru RPG. Get your 31 flavors of fantasy there.
Boom.
Workshop, table control. Keep those players in line. Run your game. Make it better. Play better, damn it. Table control workshop.
You forgot don't suck.
Well, if you do all those things, you won't suck.
That's true. Absolutely.
For now on, the workshop is going to have the title of the thing in it.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's the way
Yeah.
it should be, right?
Yeah.
All right, so this week we're going to talk about something that's a little bit nebulous, and it's going to make Phil kind of twitchy until we get some definitions around it. So this topic had surfaced for me during some of my recent experiences playing and running games, observing other GMs, and reflecting on my style while running games. Tonight, we're going to look at the general concept of how the GM controls the table during play. And so that Phil can stop his twitching over there and his eye can calm down, Definition Panda, can you do me a favor and wrap some definition around this idea of table control?
Oof. All right. And
And me and Bob will help you out too.
okay, because this thing's kind of big, and it's going to kind of take on a number of things.
Uh-huh.
So at its highest level, we're talking about the GM's ability to keep their table moving smoothly through the game, right? Like that's our ultimate goal when we're talking about table control. So this means we're trying to achieve several things at once.
Sure.
So the first one's progression, right? We need the story to move forward and have things happen with not a lot of extra and unimportant moments in play, right? Like we want to try to minimize the talk to shopkeeper for,
Yeah, anything extraneous that doesn't actually help build on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Either character-wise or character-wise or story-wise or any of that kind of stuff. We want the extraneous material to be cut.
Yep. What's something else?
Flow. So we want the game to exist in a flow state where a consistent rhythm of up and down beats are present, while the play is staying within the bounds of the game that was agreed upon when you did your session 0 or when you got together and decided we're going to play this game.
Cool. And don't forget about interpersonal cooperation. The players are working together to make decisions to move the characters, group, and story arcs forward.
What's our last one?
Last one's engagement. The players are focused on the game and what's happening around the table.
All right. So, Phil, let's talk about now what happens when this game falls apart. Like, what are some of the issues that rise up with table control, without table control, I should say. So, like, for instance, poor progression. Like, the game does not progress through the story well. It's got a bunch of hiccups and bumps, and it's not-
Well, you just don't
yeah.
chew through as much story, right?
Yeah, right. Like, that's one of the things when you don't have any of that stuff.
Fits and starts is another one, right? Like all of a sudden we're like, we're playing really deep, and then like we're not, right? Like the next beat we're like all like sitting around floundering.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. It can be pretty non-cooperative. The players can be struggling against each other to make decisions.
Yeah, that's a thing that can really happen especially when you don't have people on the same page, right?
Wandering attention, right? Players aren't focused, right? They're just like off kind of doing their things. And when they're not, because when it swings back to their turn or the spotlight
They
hits
don't know
them,
what's going
they're
on.
like, well, what?
Yeah. I just did, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
noisy. So when there's lack of table control, there's a lot of side chatter in game. A lot of people talking about other things, or just even having side conversations about the game. But that can be problematic, especially if you don't know what's going on, or people then don't hear what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, when we say noisy, I mean there is like the two types, right? There's noisy as in like I'm talking to Bob about Pacific Rim 2, but there's also noisy as in Bob's character, my character are having a interpersonal scene off to the side of the actual like game that's going on.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because really I would prefer to have that interpersonal scene in front of everybody.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not competing with the spotlight that you're already trying to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, with all of these, when these things happen, the progress of the game slows down.
Mm-hmm.
We get less things done with each session. And so often these games aren't as, exciting or as interesting. Like they can have moments where they're really exciting and interesting, but if we're plodding through story or like we had like one good scene and the rest of it's like kind of a slog, like you feel that.
And I want to throw out an example. Urban Shadows, not this last session, but the session before that, had a lot of this control issue.
Yeah.
Because and there are reasons for that, which we'll get into some of them. I'll use this example later when they come up. But our most recent session, and actually I think our first session of Urban Shadows, they were much tighter and focused, and they had better flow.
Yes.
There was much more. I had much more control over the table in those games.
Yes. I'd be when we unpack that a little, I'd be interested to talk about the difference between.
Well, I know exactly what the difference is.
Oh, good, because I will compare notes.
Because the one game we sat playing around on couches. The other two we sat playing around a table.
Interesting, and that's going to get into part of our discussion about
Yep.
control.
Uh-huh.
So, at best, when you have problems with control, games are inconsistent. And at worst, like some of these things that we talked about, like interpersonal cooperation, it's going to be actually really troublesome at the table. So this is this is a pretty important topic. And to be honest, it's a thing that like every GM wrestles with at some level, and every GM develops a style for how they do this.
It's true.
Yeah. So, we kind of need to we're going to need to kind of break this thing down a little. You got some ideas?
Sure. So we have this broad definition. We have this list of symptoms. It's clear now that more than one thing can affect table control. So we're going to have to muster up all of our GM skills because a bunch of them apply to making this work better. And it requires the management of story, of players, and of environment. Those are the three things that
Story, players, environment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the three things that we are trying to manage. When I say table control. It's not really about controlling. It's about managing, facilitating, having a grasp of these things.
I mean, it can be about controlling.
I mean,
No, I'm kidding. It's really
not.
more managing, facilitating, and
and really when I say control, I'm talking about the game master being in control of the situation.
yes, not actually like controlling people.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So
Different game.
the skills that you're going to bring to the table are going to shift depending on what you're playing and who you're playing with. So for the rest of this half of this segment, we're going to look at those three areas, what can go wrong, and what skills we might want to use for managing them. And some of these skills that we're talking about will overlap the different areas.
Yeah, so like for story control may actually also apply when we talk about players, right? Like some of these things, like they're not perfect. First of all, these things aren't perfect buckets, and neither are the skills that affect them. Like there's a lot of overlap in these three areas.
Yes, absolutely. And then once we're done with that, in the second half of the segment, we will share some of our favorite tips.
Just a note for everybody, some of these things that we're going to discuss tonight have been the subject of whole episodes on past shows.
Yeah.
So when possible, we'll try and reference those as well so that people can figure out what's going on.
Are you okay?
You have that look.
Someone's breathing into the mic heavily.
It's not me. I'm not breathing at all.
Yeah, I know. It got real quiet there for a second. But it's fine. We'll move forward.
Okay, is it me?
I don't know who it is. It was the Phantom Breather.
Oof.
It might have been me. I thought it was me for a second, but then I stopped breathing. Okay, so let's talk about the next thing. What's the next thing?
So the next thing. Let's talk about the first thing. Let's take your list. Let's take the first one off your list. Let's talk about story management.
Let's do it.
Right. So story management is the control of the pace and the execution of the game, and we measure it based on. And I wrestled with a lot of these terms as I was putting it together, but it based on how fast the plot of the game is being played out and transformed into story. Remember, we talked about that a while ago, right? Like
Yeah.
the product of play
Is story.
right? Because it's the thing we tell people what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So so when we're doing this well, we're moving through a lot of plot and we're generating a lot of story.
Yeah.
Because, like there are some nights, on good nights, when you come out of a game and you're like, man, that 4-hour session, we did this and we did that and we did this and we did that. And then like other nights, it's like, yeah, we did like a thing.
Yes.
Right? Like we didn't move through too much story for any number of reasons.
Gee, we didn't do much tonight.
Right. So Bob, from a player perspective, what does it look like when poor story, like when there's poor story management at the table?
Things are going to be moving way too slowly. Too much time is going to be spent on things that are not important. Essentially, you're not getting to the fucking monkey. You got to remember to get to the fucking monkey.
That's true.
Absolutely. And we can attribute that to like a couple different things, right? Like when we talked about our problems before, like what two problems does like story management usually manifest as?
Well, poor progression is one of them. So
Absolutely.
the game does not progress through story well. And that is, in my opinion, the GM will start scenes too early and have meaningless moments.
Yes.
Those are two of the big offenders for poor progression. Because we're now extending scenes
Yes.
and encounters or whatever with meaningless moments.
And by meaningless, we mean like nothing is really advancing the plot by that section of the
Correct.
yeah.
Or like we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're just wasting time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
we should just be rolling up on the inevitable part.
Yeah, that is the fight that's going on. There's only like 2 or 3 bad guys left. And like, well, we have overwhelming odds. Why are we still fighting, right?
Right.
The next one is fits and starts, whereas the game wanders and then speeds up and then wanders again. And this is when the GM they do. I think this is one of the places where GMs tend to not prompt their players well enough. Like their prompts are soft and they don't ask questions like what do you do or what are we doing now or what are you doing or like moving that spotlight. Or the GM lets scenes linger too long after the objective of the scene has either been met or passed by.
Yeah, like fits and starts are really frustrating. Like, I mean, poor progression, I mean, is frustrating on its own. But fits and starts is like it's almost teasing, right? Because it's like, oh, we're doing a thing, and then we're not. Okay, now we're not doing a thing.
Yeah, like GM did a good job
On this scene.
getting players to do X and then Y, and then when the players get to Z, they kind of die out, and the GM does not prompt them again with something or make something happen.
You know where I think this happens a lot is when a planning scene gets dropped into an adventure. Like we just had a combat, kick ass, right? Like everybody's on point, we're focused. The GM did a great job moving us through that combat, and now we have to plan, right? And then it's like, and the game is taking a giant grind to a halt. Mm-hmm. Right? Like we've lost everything that we built up in the previous scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So story is best managed by the GM, right? Now players obviously have a role in story.
They do.
But the GM is kind of the guide, right? Like we're the facilitator.
They are often in that narrator role.
Yeah. So the GM, like this is going to be a lot of GM work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of skills, and we've certainly have talked about these in the past. There are skills that are often used for story management.
Yes, there are. There is scene framing. That's knowing how to set up scenes efficiently, which is where you are getting in to a scene late, but not so late that people don't have a chance to act on what's going on.
I wouldn't say late. I would say like right at the crucial moment.
Yeah, the writing, the writing equivalent of this is like you want to start your scene as late as possible.
Yes, that in that
Yeah.
term, yes, you're correct.
Another great thing to do is smash cutting because that breaks up your scene, so you're not just lingering in one space for too long. Because if you ever really watch television or film and things like that, unless you're watching something clever like Birdman, where you have these long, drawn out shots, they tend to bounce around from character to character or some from scene to scene.
You know what TV show had really good smash cutting, and that wasn't a super fast paced show?
What's that?
The first half of every Law and Order.
Oh, yeah.
Because every time they collect a clue, bam, smash cut. Like, the important part of that scene was to obtain the clue to get to the next scene, and as soon as they got it, bam, smash cut into the next scene.
Yep.
Like, no lingering on the tail end of that. Like, got the clue, cut. We're at bad guy's office.
And a lot of times because I've watched a number of Law and Order episodes, not as many as Phil, because Phil's probably watched an order of magnitude more than me. If there was going to be character moments between characters, they happened before they got the information from the person.
Or
you got
yes, so much so.
Or you got character moments while they were interacting with the person that they were getting information from.
Yes,
those are the times that you got character.
Exactly, and then
never after the fact.
Never after the fact. Yeah.
Spotlight management. We had a whole episode on that.
Whole episode.
Yeah, and that's the technique for moving the focus of the game from one player to another.
Mm-hmm.
Just go. I mean, once it goes back up, go listen to the spotlight management episode.
Absolutely.
Assuming it's. I don't think it's up there yet. That's why. And then this idea of interjection.
Interjection.
Very nice.
Thank you.
This is knowing when and how to add information to a situation to help clarify or move things along.
Oh, you know what? You put this one in, and I cannot agree more. Like, I have seen moments at the table where all of a sudden, like, the players are bogged down and you're not sure why, and then you suddenly realize one player at the table has misunderstood what's going on.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that thing you're saying right there, no. Your character knows X, or no, player, you actually heard that wrong. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, no, then I agree with everything you guys are saying. Let's move on to the next scene.
Yep, it helps.
Oh crap, we could have moved on like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that way you're not. I never am one of those. I never want to be one of those game masters or play with one of those game masters that lets me play a game where, like, I misheard something or didn't get a clue quite right in my head.
It's called the 1980s.
Yeah, and they just kind of let that go. I'm like, look, I mean, I am not my character, right? Like, I'm not. I mean, that is not. If my character heard it, then I should know it, right? Or if my character knows a thing.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much of, like, the shitty gaming that I did as a kid could have vastly been improved if people would have just believed in interjection.
Yeah, and that's not even like a hippie story gamer thing, right? Like,
No, it's
if you
not
were-
a hippie gamer story.
If you're going to be a judge, like a referee style player,
Yeah.
like, you should referee as if the characters know stuff.
Yes, especially when it's like a fantasy world and it's like you're narrating it. It's like, yes, your characters know, like, this is how a door opens, or
Yeah.
like,
and if they misheard you or they
Right.
misheard me, I'll just use me as the example. I am not going to let them flounder because they didn't get the correct information from me that I thought I told them before.
right. In fact, as kind of a almost a reverse example of that, in the DCC adventure I'm running, Frozen in Time, like, I have purposely not injected certain information, not to clarify things, but as a point of, no, you don't know why this thing does
Keep
this
the mystery.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another thing too where players will ask me questions sometimes, and I'm like, I don't actually have to answer that.
Yeah, or that's not a thing. That's not common
That's
knowledge.
why I don't have to answer that, because you don't actually know. Like,
Right.
Like, I don't have to. So, like, I can give you information. I don't have to tell you what that information means.
Uh-huh.
Right. Like,
Right. And I can
don't
also
have-
tell you if something's not common. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm handling this gem. Like, have I ever seen a gem like this before?
Yeah.
No.
So this idea of interjection is a thing that we all do. I don't think it's a thing we've ever actually talked about.
No, we haven't. It's actually
in like 300 episodes of Mr.
I know.
Mark. I don't think we've ever talked about this idea of interjection.
I think that's why I'm kind of excited that you put it on here, because it fixes so many things.
It can help a lot.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a thing that you can use. You should be using it all the time, but you can't. There's a way to use it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about player management, right?
Sure.
All right, cool. So player management is the control of the players at the table. We can measure this in the focus the players have as the game is taking place and how well they are working to make the game progress.
So let me make a note here. You said making the game progress. And I want to clarify that we're not saying working together per se.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are plenty of games where players are at cross purposes.
Uh-huh.
But a productive group of players is, even if they're at cross purposes, even if they're in full PvP, their actions are still moving the progress of the game forward.
Correct.
Even if they're working against each other. Like, you can still move the game forward.
And if your game is designed to do PvP, there should be mechanisms in play to help resolve those kinds of conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like Urban Shadows, because some people will be like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, your game should help you do that.
Yeah.
So that's what you're going to be looking for. And you're going to be looking for the game mechanics to help you do this.
I mean, we could do a whole thing on PvP or games pointed at each other.
We've kind of talked about that. I think we have a couple episodes that have talked about that.
I think after we do a little more Urban Shadows, we should come back and revisit that. Because
Sure.
I think we'll have, because that one's not so much PvP, but like sometimes your purposes don't cross.
That's
like,
true.
And you figure out a way to deal around it.
So, Bob, you've been in a few games with this particular issue. What does that look like from your side?
Well, this is when you'll have those occurrences where you'll have a player that's bored and they're sitting there making their dice tower because they're totally not interested in what's going on. Or you'll have one player constantly shooting down the ideas of others during the planning session. So instead of being open to somebody else's ideas, they're just like knocking everything down and it just drags everything out.
Yeah, I would suggest game masters and players out there, if you see somebody at your table doing that, calm them down. Get them to step back.
Yeah.
And if it ruins their fun for a second, that's fine because they're ruining everybody else's fun.
Yep.
Sometimes when a player's constantly shooting things down, I actually will use that interjection technique to be like, no, that's actually pretty plausible. Like, no, you probably could get over the wall if you had, something to climb with. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes like somebody will be like, no, we can't go over the wall because the wall's too high. And I'll be like, no, that's not actually true. Like, you might if you just had like extra rope or something.
Yeah. And then you're like, that sounds like a good idea. You need this resource to accomplish said goal.
Right. And also, hey, stop assuming you know everything about what's going on here. Like, these are decent ideas and some of these are still viable. So like sometimes I just like go in and poke and be like, no, that's a good idea.
That's interjection right there.
Yeah. Interjection.
Oh man. So now that we've talked a little bit about this, what when you're dealing with this issue and you're doing it correctly, what does this fix?
Yeah. So like some of the issues that we're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
Non-cooperative, right? The players are struggling against each other to make decisions to act in some sort of cooperative manner.
Yes.
Wandering attention, right? Players aren't focused on the game, and their attention's wandering. And just to clear up, because I'm looking at the chat room and Jerry's talking about dice towers and stuff. Dice towers isn't like making dice towers or even checking your phone isn't a sign that you're wandering. Some people do that because it's hard for them to pay attention, that kind of thing. Really what we're talking about is if you suddenly like turn to that player and are like ask him a question.
And they don't know what's going on.
If they don't know what's going on, that's wandering attention.
Yes.
But like, for instance, when it's not my scene, I sometimes check my phone real quick. But I'm always like one ear going on in the game so that if something happens or somebody asks a question, I can very quickly just put my phone down and be like, oh, yes, this is what's happening. It's the wandering attention part. And everybody does that differently. And
I love when the people are like, when we say something and they're like, but we have to do these things sometimes. They're like, look, we get it, but we're not actually talking about that. We're talking about actual wandering attention. That's just an example of how sometimes attention wanders.
Exactly.
Do not... Here, everyone, when we say a thing, think of us saying it in the best possible way.
Best possible way in the broadest
possible way.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that will make things a lot easier for everybody instead of trying to point out the edge cases for us.
Yeah. But I mean, it is worth, just because it came up in the chat room, it is worth kind of focusing on what the really important part is. And it's the
wandering attention is what you're trying to curb.
like if you're as a player, if you're going to pick up something and do something else, like while you're playing, have your head in the game. And I've seen a couple people, I'm trying to remember. I saw a couple people when I saw it at Breakouts. There are a couple people who like knit while they're playing. Like
Yeah.
it gives them a thing to do with their hands when
Heck,
the spotlight's not on them.
I've been at tables with people who've been knitting for like years.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I see it all the time.
And for me, that's like, hey, that's great. Like if that's the thing that kind of settles you, so you can keep attention, like awesome.
Yeah.
Like totally not.
We've
a problem.
had games with Dave where Dave is fidgeting.
He's gotta fidget with something.
Like
That's
he's
just a
got
thing that makes
something
him-
going on, but he's still in the
But he's
game, and you can tell.
He's always involved.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's the important part. And the last part is noisy, right? Like one of the issues that can crop up with this when players are kind of like running a little unchecked is the idea, like it just gets noisy at the table. Like somebody starts like whispering to one of the other players, like, "Did you see that Facebook thing?" Right? Or like we said before, like somebody just starts having another in character conversation, like problematic. All right.
Sorry, I was just laughing because Andrew's telling the story about how somebody asked her a question and she turned and told him the answer to the question. And as soon as she was done answering the question, he asked her the same exact question. And she's like, "I told him with my meat mouth right to his face." And he did that. I wanted to rip his face off.
The meat mouth.
Meat mouth. I love that term, meat mouth.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. So we're going to talk about player management now, right? How it's done from both the GM side and the player side. And there are several skills that cover this. Bob, tell me about the player side.
So if you're a player, exercise some self-control. Pay attention. Be quiet.
And we're talking about being quiet as in like giving people space to talk.
Exactly. If it's not your turn and somebody else is explaining something or telling what they're doing, then you let them say it. You have to have that kind of self-control. Be fans of the other players. Watch what else is going on. Encourage each other. If somebody's making a suggestion for something, don't immediately shoot it down. Weigh the options. Take everybody's input and be respectful. And collaborate. Work with each other. Collaboration is good.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, you may be having one of those things where you're at cross purposes, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, even across purposes games or even PvP games, being a fan of the other player is sometimes hard, but it's still a game, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, like I enjoy watching like in Urban Shadows where like I'm off making one deal and like Bob's cutting the exact opposite deal with the Elkman. It's like,
Yeah.
welp, this is going to come to a head at some point, right?
The thing where you tried to get the cabbie to cut a deal with you in one session, and then Sean's character turned around and took the cabbie's card away that you gave him and ripped it and got.
Yeah, I didn't
and
appreciate
pocketed it. No, you didn't.
I didn't appreciate that. I was trying to work. I didn't need him muscling in on my shit. Maybe that guy didn't want to be a cabbie forever.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sean,
Maybe he doesn't have a strong value on his soul. Like maybe he's okay giving it up for some mortal pleasures.
yeah.
That's not for Sean to judge.
Mr. Judge,
That was not for DeMarco. That was not for DeMarco to judge.
I mean, he tried to ninja note me too to tell me like he takes
Yeah,
the card
I actually
away.
like that. Because I mean, Sean did the old school thing, right?
Yeah.
Like he went for the note, and it's like, no, it's perfectly fine. You can say it in front of me. Like I'm not mad. I'm just like, don't take food from my mouth. Like
Yeah, that would have been a completely different interaction too if he was like, "I'm gonna write his license plate number down and then go get that card from him later," because then
Yeah.
you wouldn't have known.
Right. It would have been a funny scene though.
Yeah.
Like he just comes up and he's like, "Do you have that card from that guy? You do not want that card."
No,
Like,
yeah, that would have been. It
give
would have
me
been
the-
actually a better way to handle it instead of just trying to handle it in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately my character was just
Yeah.
like, I didn't appreciate that. Plus, I had saved him already, so I was like, I really don't appreciate this. All right, anyway.
So where were we?
We're talking about now. We're talking about the GM side. So Phil, tell us the GM side about skills that cover player management.
Right, read the table.
That's the thing.
You got to be watching the people who are playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way you'll know if somebody isn't paying attention is because you usually can read it right on them. You don't even have
Yep.
to ask the question. If you're paying enough attention to body language and stuff, 9 times out of 10 you can catch it. The other one is spotlight management.
Yep.
Because one of the things that keeps players engaged is if they're interacting in the game, and so moving the spotlight around is a way to kind of keep everyone engaged. And
Yeah.
we're not going to hash over because we just literally talked about it 2 seconds ago.
Yes. Also, another one just to throw out there: interjection.
Interjection.
Yep.
You know where that's from, right?
Intervention, right? Like you're
No, interjections. It's from Schoolhouse Rock, man.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh, we'll have to find that one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Send to Schoolhouse Rock. I've done it already.
Yeah, you've
I
already
did,
done
I
that.
did it in past
Been
there,
episodes.
done it.
Sorry, I'm not going to do it.
We're
again.
running out of things to pop splain here, I think. We need to
No,
find
we're
some-
not.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
We don't do it very often on this show anymore.
No, there's plenty of stuff. Don't worry.
Oh,
We're good.
That's funny.
We're good.
She just said "damn it" in the chat room. Also, Angela's yelling at me because I don't remember that.
Yes, he's
Schoolhouse Rock one. Anyways, here we go.
Anyhow.
Hey, by the way, if you're listening to this show like in podcast format and you're not here on Tuesday evenings at 8:45 Eastern, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Woman, person.
if you're free on 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, you really should be hanging out with these people.
All right, let us move on.
Yeah.
After that, and plug for our live stream.
There we go. Environmental management.
Yes. Tell me about it.
All right, so this is the control of the physical space that you're playing in, right? We can measure this by how much of a distraction the space that you're playing in is and the things that are in it. I will say, I'll ask Bob this, and I'll actually bring up my own experience with this about the danger of props. So, Bob, I'll ask you first. Have you ever played in a less than optimal playing space, and like, what did it do to the game?
Why, yes, Phil, I have done that. Unfortunately, this is kind of your typical con game in a lot of ways. You'll get a whole bunch of tables packed into a space. You've got just enough room to push your chair back away from the table without banging into the other guy, maybe if you're lucky.
Or girl, or person,
girl, or person.
gal, or woman, or whatever.
Folks.
Mark your
bingo board.
Mark your bingo board.
You know, that kind of thing. You'll have that GM on one table over who's running that big, loud, raucous table of high adventure and frivolity, and you're trying to do your serious feels, deep thing. And that's, that makes it hard to focus.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for anybody who's trying to run a game like Turning Point or One Child's Heart if they're playing next to me when I'm running a D&D or a Dungeon World game.
I can do you one better.
Yeah.
I was playing in an Iron Heroes game, which is not the most serious game, at Gen Con. 2 tables away from me, this guy was running Toon. I shit you not, he had an inflatable 4-foot mallet. Right? Like he's standing there at the table, like bopping players in the head.
That's awesome.
With this 4-foot. Yes, it'd have been awesome if I was in that game.
Yeah.
It was less awesome when I'm trying to focus on my game, and every few seconds I'm like, what the fuck's going on over there? Right? Like, it was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it was very distracting. I will say so I'll tell my story real quick about the danger of props. We were playing a corporation game one night, and our buddy Mike brought an airsoft pistol. Right? Because he was like, I'll bring this prop, and it's, it was unloaded airsoft pistol. And I was GMing the game. I could not leave that thing alone. I was like my own distraction. I'm like, I'm popping the magazine out, I'm putting it in, I'm cocking it, I'm putting it on the table. Like it went on like for that like 10 minutes. I handed it back to Mike. I'm like, you have to take this thing away. Like I'm fucking up my own game here.
True facts, people. I was there. He could not let it go.
I'm like screwing up my own game because I can't stop playing with this thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, you have to take this prop away from me.
I do this thing sometimes. Like my favorite place to play games is around a table. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like it works. I just like the way that it feels, and I can look at everybody. I especially like being at the end of a table. I don't like sitting in the middle, like of a long side of a table. I like to be in the spot where I can look and see everybody without having to turn too much. Sitting and playing on couches is a thing that I've been doing the last year and a half or so. It is not a good space for me to play or run a game.
It's really funny you say that because all of my 20s, I pretty much ran games from couches.
Mm-hmm.
And then when D&D came out and we started using a battle mat, we moved from my place in my apartment. We went down to Bob's place and started playing at a table. And after that, I started running all my games at tables. And the few times I've run games on couches, I'm like a little less put together.
Mm-hmm.
I really like you've been to my game room, like I really like my table.
Yeah.
Like I got my table and the side tables, where I stage stuff and all that shit, and like I like my table and my chairs, and it actually does something for me.
Yeah.
I do actually play more comfortably. like I'm more focused in that space.
I'm just stealing all the shit out of the chat room today before we even
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ange has a really good comment.
Yeah. If you are at a con and have needs for either quiet or loud options, talk to the con organizers. The contentious ones, or conscientious ones, do try and accommodate and not put a serious game next to a raucous one. If you know you're going to be loud and obnoxious, let the con know.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like if you're running like some crazy ass tune game, tell the directors. I think I didn't do it for Breakout, but I will do it for QCC. Is like when I run Turning Point, I would prefer to run Turning Point like not in the middle of an epic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would prefer to run Turning Point off somewhere else.
On the bright side, I think that the epic is going to be in one room and all the other games will be in the other room. So
yeah,
so we have 2 big rooms this year.
Yeah, and I don't like I need like some space for quiet. So anyway, let's to kind of get us back on this. The issues that kind of crop up when we don't have environmental management.
Yeah. So wandering attention, players they're just not focused on the game and their attention keeps wandering around.
You just can't pay attention, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and once again, we're not talking about people who like to have that something else to do with their hands or their minds because they can focus on more than one thing. But when you're actually disengaged with the game, and when it gets noisy, like people start having side conversations either about interpersonal things in play or
ambient noise around you.
Or
yeah.
like when people start talking, it makes it harder to concentrate. And when there's noise around you from other games, it makes it harder to concentrate. Like you said, the blown up mallet thing, the loud obnoxious games around you thing.
God, it wasn't like that guy wasn't running a good game, but it was like seriously screwing with my ability to pay attention to the game I was playing. And he was loud, of course, right? Because it wasn't just a large inflatable mallet. Anyway, all right. So, unlike the other things where we've talked about the GM being kind of the facilitator, like really anyone can help with environmental control, right? Players or GM.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some things we can take into consideration.
So we can go with ambient noise, the noises that are on the table, not directly from the players. So like try to minimize that kind of stuff. That's why that helps like playing in a quiet space away from other people. If you can. Table clutter, like how much stuff and what kind of stuff do you have on the table and how do you manage that kind of material?
I mean, some games you're going to have a lot of stuff on the table, but if you, like, for instance, one of the games that I think I have the biggest challenge with table clutter is Savage Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of...
Savage Worlds got a lot of stuff on the table. You got, like, decks of cards and chips and initiative cards that have been put out, and if you're playing with the action deck, you have... other cards. Often you have a map with dudes on it.
No, with folks on it.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Dude is actually generally considered to be a pretty generic term.
No, but it's okay. We renamed it a while ago. It's folks on maps.
Okay.
We did.
The term bothers me.
Yeah. Folks on maps. Chris is, I will correct myself. Folks on maps. So the times I've run Savage Worlds, like I look at the table and I'm like, holy shit. Like there's a lot going on here. And it can happen in Fate too. Like you get like a shit ton of aspects out on the table or something. You're just like, oh, like how am I keeping track of this thing?
It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. What else? Besides table clutter.
Then there's social contracts. That's like discussing expectations, what you're going to do with your phones and things like that. We're not talking about the session 0 type stuff. We're talking. I mean, that can be sort of.
It can be.
But I mean, this is a broader version of that. Like it's stuff that goes outside of the game too. Like, where are we going to play? What kind of experience are we looking for? Are we going to play with the lights off? Are we always going to play at night?
Are we all going to put our cell phones in this box and not answer them?
Which the answer to that question is almost always no.
No. Right. I mean,
so.
Yeah. All right. So with some understanding of the myriad of things that go into table control, let's take a break and let's engage the chat room as we've kind of been engaging them all the way along the way, but see what Bob has collected. But before we do that, Chris, tell me about another awesome show in the Misdirector Mark family.
The Wednesday Evening Podcast All-Stars. Brett, Tom, Kevin, Chris, and Emily get together to play games that get edited down into an audio drama for your ears. Join this crew of all-star players as they create stories from the games that you love. Currently, we are playing Avanti, which Emily is doing a bang-up job of editing, and she ran it. She is wonderful in that role, and the show has been amazing so far. It's last time I looked 6 episodes in. I'm looking forward to episode 7. At some point, I will be putting a page together with all of those episodes in one spot, just as I will for Avalon again, because it needs to be back together.
Awesome.
And you can get the whole thing if you want to just listen to the whole thing at that point.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is there another orifice that audio dramas are for? Like, it's an audio drama for your ears, but it's audio, right? Like,
I like to pump the audio directly into my mouth.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, is it contraindicated if I use it orally?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just I'm just
I'm just going to answer yes whenever you say anything.
armchair editor on this one. Just like it's a drama for your ears, or it's an audio drama. I don't know if you need both audio and ears.
You're probably right. I'll probably.
I mean,
just
or
that.
you could just shove it in your mouth, like just.
I mean, you could watch
get a big old mouthful of Avanti.
Technically, you could
Warning:
you could
Avanti
watch
is
the
not to be taken internally.
Technically, you could watch the waveforms as they're going by on your screen.
Yeah. All right, no, that's cool. It's cool. Sorry.
I mean, if you want to watch Emily's voice in waveform, you can do that.
Absolutely, you
Okay.
can totally do that.
not for oral use, and if not for oral use, then rectal is completely out.
Moving on now. Is there anything in the chat room?
So Ange had another comment earlier. Be careful with smash cuts. Basically, make sure your players are all on board and you're not cutting off an interaction they were enjoying or looking forward to.
Now,
So that's part of reading the
table.
people.
Now, I can go two ways of this. Like,
I was
right,
just
I'm with
about
Ange.
to say that I can see both arguments.
I'm going to go with Ange's. I'm going to go with what I said before about taking this the best way. Like, yes, you want to let people play their stories out, especially if they're going for something. Instead of smash cutting through that, if you think they're having a good time or they're doing a thing that they want to do, this is where you interject and you ask the question, where are you going with this? Because I don't understand.
Yeah, and there's a balance between, hey, we just want to talk in character. Like, this isn't moving the game anywhere. We're just going to talk in character because we want to talk in character.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm playing a home game, like, I'm apt to let that go a bit more, right? Like, I'm apt to be like, if it's Tony and Bob are having like some cool interaction, and it's not really driving plot, but it's kind of like, like characters are opening up a bit.
Yeah.
I'm apt to just be like, I'll let this go a bit longer before I start pushing on this. If I'm running a con game under a time schedule, then I'm a little more
You got to kind of nip that.
I'm a little more strict about, and especially if I know which game I'm running. Like, if I'm running my Hydro Hackers Redwater Blues, that game is a tight fit for 4 hours. So I don't let them drag on too long. Like, I will move, players through scenes. But Busted Main is a little more open. And so again, I might be apt to lean back a little, and let it breathe a little. But there is a point where it's like, okay, I've let it breathe. You're still not progressing the story. So how does this wrap up? Right? Like,
Yeah.
like where are you guys going next? Like, you have this good chat. Are you guys staying here or are you guys leaving?
Yeah.
Like, I start just asking that question. Like,
Yeah.
hint, hint, we're getting out of the scene.
Yeah.
Tom Flanagan is quite good at that skill, knowing when to let people chat and then knowing when to stop them from chatting and moving on to the next.
I think we're going to call that skill scene breathing. Like, I think Jason Cordova may have used that term in the past.
Yeah,
like,
scene breathing.
when to let it breathe.
Yeah.
And like when to cork it, so to speak.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a feel thing. It's an understanding what's going on in the scene.
Absolutely.
It's also, I think, a time management thing,
It's that too.
right? Like, if you know you got time, and it's also reading players, right? Like, if you know, if all the other players are like watching this interaction like intently, I'll let it breathe.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
if I have 2 or 3 players, if everybody else at the table is bored with what's going on.
Yeah, then we got to get time to move.
Because here's a thing to think about as players out there. If you're enjoying a scene or a sequence, like, remember, like, the thing about role playing games is we are entertainers and entertainment at the same time. So if we're not entertaining everyone else around us in some way, shape, or form, and by the way, this is assuming that all the players at the table are there to entertain and be entertained, then you might not be playing. Well, one, the game might not be the best game for you to be playing, and if everybody has like that disparate situation, like some people want certain things, some people want other things. But I mean, if for some reason like the thing that you're doing in that moment isn't really working, then you should recognize that too and just move on, because you're not doing anything to help make the game better for everybody.
I think there's a real art form to knowing like getting the timing right for when to close out scenes. And Ange is right. Like, you don't want to close out a scene when something interesting is about to happen between two characters. And you also don't want to just let every character interaction between, in a scene just drag on until they're done.
Well, you look for those points in play, right? Like, especially if you know that the scene's going to be long and you want to move and then come back to it, you look for that moment where, like, that mini reveal or that upbeat or that downbeat happens, that question is raised, and then you move away, and then you can come back, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that is a technique that is universally used in storytelling.
Yeah.
Cool. So I wanted to bring up one more thing before we move on from the chat room, and that is the amazing Matt Morrow is in the chat room
Yeah,
tonight.
he is.
And he just nailed it again. He got a crazy-ass description for the latest Character Cache character, and he put pen to paper and came up with an awesome
This one's
picture.
character?
It's
Humanoid
ridiculous.
train.
Iron Justice.
I mean,
He's a humanoid train.
I mean, let's just say that I did not make it easy for Matt this month. There was a 4-way tie for genre between steampunk western horror and was it steampunk western horror and superhero, and I was like, sure, Matt, let's do that. So we did, and Matt took my crazy ass art direction.
Yeah.
Like crazy ass art direction and turned it into something really cool.
Anthropomorphic train.
Uh-huh.
That's what it is. Like,
Essentially.
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts. Like I was a little I don't know what was going on when I was like, we're doing all the genres. Like I lost it a little. But
All right.
but Matt's, consummate professional, man.
Absolutely.
He's like, all right, I'll draw it. And did. It looks really good.
Yeah,
It really
he crushed
does.
it.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
he
amazing.
really did.
I would highly suggest everybody pick that up.
I'm
when it
actually
comes out.
interested to see the 5e stats for it because I did the Savage Worlds and the Fate one.
Hey everybody! So Phil does this thing with Fate and Savage Worlds, which is like, well, Fate it's a lot easier. Which I shifted a little bit of a thing. Is like it's got this absorption power, and Phil's like, whenever you use the absorption power or you let go of the absorption power, you clear all your stress. I'm like, well, that's broken. Whenever you spend a fate point to use your absorption power.
Yeah, that's good. Did you add that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
But try to write that for 5th edition. Not
Yeah.
so much, jerk.
I got to write 5e stats for this?
Come I was like,
man.
well,
Plus, it says when you absorb a thing, just change one of your aspects to be the thing that you absorb.
yeah, it's good. That's
That part's easy, but that doesn't translate to 5e as well.
yeah. So I mean, like, there's like like when you absorb a thing, like here's a pick list.
Yeah.
So one of the things is like you can add whatever you want to one of your stats, and then the game master gets to take that many away from one of your other stats.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yep.
cool.
There's one like there's a few other things like you can pick from a list of like attacks, and I don't know.
That's cool. I'm gonna go check it. I'm gonna go check
crazy.
it
I'm like, oh,
out. I know. I mean, the Fate one's always like the easier. Like this. But thanks for adding that. Fate
Sure,
point in.
no problem. My pleasure. Are we moving on now?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
we are back to the thing.
Rolling on.
So we're back. We're talking about this idea of table control. In the first half, we looked at the major areas that we can control, and now in this half, we're going to talk about some of our favorite techniques for each of these areas.
Uh-huh.
What's first?
Let's do story management.
Fantastic. So here are some of my tips for story management. I have a few of them, just a few.
You have a All right, go ahead.
All right. So first off, you need. I think it's good to have questions that you want to answer through play to help guide yourself while facilitating the game. This is a very Fate thing. It's in the Fate book. It's basically like, oh, in this session, I want to see this thing answered. Like, will, for instance, does Phil's character in our Urban Shadows game care about his job more as a demon or his boyfriend more? Like, that was a thing that I had a question for the entire time. So I was waiting for a moment when I could make that happen. I wasn't going to force it, but I was waiting for it.
If I will tell you that if it hadn't been that book, I would have probably picked the boyfriend over the job.
Probably.
But at that moment, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, it's the book. So, because I'm a bad boyfriend.
You were a bad boyfriend in that case.
I was a bad boyfriend.
So then another one is understanding the modes of play of your game and the best ways to transition from one mode of play to the other. This is the Blades in the Dark thing, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Also Swords Without Master,
D&D.
D&D, when do you
has
go
modes
from
of play.
combat to exploration to interaction, like, and how do you transition smoothly between those things?
Right.
And especially with So the exploration part is weird because the exploration part actually covers a lot of D&D. It covers
Dungeons,
exploring
wilderness.
dungeons, wilderness, maneuvering through cities. I mean, generally that kind of goes along with interaction too, but like, searching for traps, how that affects going through all sorts of different kinds of terrain, all that kind of stuff. Like there's
Right.
a lot going on there. Another one, create prep that will always provide you a foundation to facilitate from. So this idea is like when play takes the game somewhere you weren't expecting, you still have this foundation of elements, plot points, and story beats to rely on.
Reference our foundational prep episode.
Yes, absolutely. Another one is having beat types that you want in your game as part of your prep and making sure that you alternate between them while also having positive and negative beats. So
Reference our beat
structure
our beat
episode.
structure episode.
yes, absolutely. Make sure you always prompt your players either through your descriptions or by asking some variation of what do you do once you've set the scene.
Our future episode is
Yeah.
coming up on interjections,
Interjection.
and prompting.
Interjections.
It's important. Like
Bob.
this is
Ding.
Thank you.
that one.
Interjections and prompts.
It's a thing we've never talked about. It's very important.
It is very important, and now that we've found it, I want to talk about it. Good stuff.
And Senda just requeued beat structure like minutes ago, so it's there if you want to go listen to it.
Yay!
And I just was going to say the other two things are once again interjection, like interjecting information when a player is misremembering something a character would know, and interjecting information to help prompt a scene when it's slowing down or
God,
stalling out.
So much so.
So this is the idea of when a scene is slowing down or stalling out, you're going to make a move.
Yes.
That's the Power by the Apocalypse idea.
Right.
If you want to generalize it, it's when things are stalling out, interject information, interject something.
Yes. Like,
Ninjas attack.
I mean, sometimes my interjection is like, "Hey guys, what's going on here? Like, what are we
Yeah,
Doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And if someone's like, we don't know, then like, well, let me help you.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I will. Sometimes my interjection is a quick recap.
Uh-huh.
Like, okay, guys, so like while you guys are still talking, like remember that like you have the tome, you found the piece of the artifact, and you talked to like Dr. Smith. Oh, that's right, we talked to that doctor guy, right? Like my job is done.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. Now we're back on track. And I think interjections help a lot if you are playing multi-session mysteries.
Yeah.
Because when people have forgotten clues, just because the player forgot the clue
The
because it's been
character
2
didn't.
weeks,
Yeah.
the character didn't. It was an hour ago. That's back in the 80s. That kind of dickish GMing, like that shit led to more problems.
We can just get away from all that, I think.
We're better than that now.
Yeah.
Like we've evolved past that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would think so.
I think so. All right. I got a few of these.
It'll tell me a few of them.
My first one is the internal question as a GM that I either have already asked myself in my prep, or if I'm ad-libbing, I will ask myself on the fly, which is, what is the purpose of this scene? Because the only way I know how to get out of a scene and how to cut like deep, like cut late into the scene is if I know what the purpose of the scene is.
Yeah.
Right? If the purpose of the scene is to get information out of the captain, then I want us to start in the captain's office, and I want us to end not long after we've gotten the information from the captain. Right? I want to actually interject that question right after they've gotten the information. I want to interject that question. Now what do you do? Right? Because that's my prompt. We're closing up the scene and we're moving on.
Yep. So what's your next move?
What are you doing now?
What is your next step?
Right. So what's my purpose of the scene is one of my greatest tools. And when I'm prepping, I sometimes, I don't know if I do it as much anymore. I used to do it all the time. I would just write the purpose of the scene in my notes. Like, this scene is...
And I'll be honest with you, asking that question, what is the purpose of this scene? What is the purpose of this encounter? It's a wonderful tool to use when you're writing linear adventures.
Oh, totally.
It's one of the best tools to use when writing linear adventures.
Right, because if your answer is, I need an extra scene, like I need an extra encounter, that's not a good answer.
No, it's not.
Right, so if you need an extra encounter, find a better reason to have it.
This, like, what's the purpose of the scene? To see if the player characters learn this extra bit of information along with this clue, because they're going to need this clue. But if they get this extra bit of information, it'll help them in this particular scene that's coming up.
Right.
Like, that is a good purpose of this scene, right? Like, the purpose of the scene is to give the characters a chance to be awesome and throw down with a bunch of mooks and kick their asses.
Right. The purpose of this scene is to The purpose of this scene is to provide an opportunity for the players to discover something that'll be an advantage in the final combat.
Yeah, exactly.
They
Like,
may not get it,
They might not get it.
but they have an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Tell me about montages.
I like montages. So, I like to do montages when I am trying to move the group into like a particular scene. So like I might instead of like let's say we're setting up to do a hydro hack. Instead of going around the table and playing out 6 scenes, I might just ask each player like, "What are you doing before the hydro hack starts?" Right. So somebody may be like, "I'm writing a program," or I'm getting more parts for my kit or whatever. And then I'm like, "Awesome. This is what it looks like." Right. Like we see we see our hacker. He's feverishly typing, at his deck while, we cut over and so is like, paying some, aqua coin and grabbing some tools. And like, I will do that. Like I will take like everybody's input and then I'll make like a little montage out of it because it's like, I need to keep this story moving, and we need to get to the really interesting part, which is the hack, not so much the getting everything together for the hack kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I like the montage. Plus, I'm a junkie for action movies. Like the prep montage is it's one of the best tropes from action movies ever.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, sports movies.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Martial arts movies.
Mm-hmm.
The prep montage is a huge, martial arts trope as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The training montage is actually a big martial arts trope.
So, Bob, did you have anything to say about this?
I think you guys hit it pretty well. So
Yeah, Chris.
What?
yours was a little verbose,
What?
dense.
What?
Chris got some feelings about story.
Tell me about player management.
Yeah, player management. We are talking about managing the players and kind of keeping order and engagement. So one of the things I have to use personally as a player is my index card.
They're super useful as me as a game master because I could just ask Phil what we did last weekend. Or last
I'm not
time
even
we
just
played.
talking about notes. So I have 2 index cards, right? So one, I always take notes as a player. Now, I will say this. My notes are somewhat unreliable because I take the notes as my character. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not in a scene, I'm not often writing down the notes for it.
It's true.
So I take because if I need to know what I did last thing, I read through my notes.
Kevin Lovecraft is one of the best note takers I've ever seen.
Does he take notes for the whole session kind of thing?
And then he sometimes makes note recaps with get gifs.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's cool.
I used to do. I think we talked about this in the past. I used to do my recaps for Iron Heroes as narrative scenes.
Oh, nice.
Like I would read out like a mini story kind of thing.
Those are always good.
Yeah, Kevin just takes his bullet point list that he made for his notes, and then he put gifs. He's put some gifs in there sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like Google Docs, it's fun.
The other thing I do with the note card is if I suddenly have something I need to tell everybody that's not game related, I write it on the note card. There's this cool YouTube video and I didn't talk about it before the game started.
We do it all the time.
So I just write it down on a note card because
Gotta remember this at the break.
the thing that's going to make me blurt it out is if I think I'm going to forget it. But if I write it on the note card, then it's out of my head and I'm like, oh, well, I don't have to talk about it now because I'm not going to forget it. It's on the note card.
It's true.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that to kind of keep me from blurting things out.
By the way, Phil,
You.
my 7 bullet points that I went through on mine was shorter than your 1 bullet point that you just went through.
And that's why I'm me.
We're going long.
I'm mentioning this, folks out there in listener land, because when I said I had 7 bullet points for this one thing, they're like, "Well, we're going long." I'm like, "It's gonna be Sneezak's fault." That's incorrect.
We're actually on time. The other one I like is leading questions. If I want to keep players engaged, I put them to work.
Yeah, that's
Right?
great. Yeah,
you name this thing.
Uh-huh.
You tell me what great battle occurred here.
it's a great way to look at somebody that is disengaged from the game and re-engage them into the game.
Which is actually, I don't consider it a punishment. I think it's fun when somebody asks me those things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It also it gives them agency. It gives them a piece of the game that they contributed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, what's this one thing that nobody knows about yet, but you're going to name it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Bam!
I love
there it
doing
is.
that. I love that. I love
Yeah.
getting that buy-in.
Yep.
Very, very awesome.
Bob, what
stuff.
about you?
Man, engage with your fellow players. Or encourage your fellow players.
Yeah.
We're all there to have fun. If somebody's, having an off night or if they're struggling or whatever, lift them up.
So the first thing that I started doing when I started playing with you guys was I started encouraging all the other players, interacting with them, and then encouraging them to do things as a player.
My one challenge as a player is I try not. I'm trying to strike the balance of like, oh my god, you know what you should totally do? Like you should do this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I get like super excited about somebody else's scene. I'm like, oh my god, you should totally stick it to the elk man. Like stick it to the elk man. Do
Yeah.
it. Do it.
I
Do it. I want to watch.
I always wait for them to see if they have an idea first,
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, do that.
That's what I've ultimately evolved to. But on the inside,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, stick it to the elk man. Like tell him fuck off.
The, because the reason once somebody suggests something, I'm usually like, yes, do that, is because oftentimes people's first instincts are really the things that they really want to do.
Yeah.
They just might not be super confident
Right.
in what they're doing,
Yep.
or confident with the cape, since super confident. Anyways,
no capes.
But bum.
no capes.
No.
You'll be hearing me say that more often. The
No capes.
Confident with the cape, or whatever with the cape. Anyways, where are we at? What are we doing here?
We're at Chris.
We're at Chris
After I
talking
encourage
about
fellow
player.
players.
So, as a player, and even as a game master, I like to know what the other players are trying to accomplish and take action to help them accomplish it.
Yeah, don't try to surprise. If I'm the game master, don't try to surprise me. I'm better as your ally.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to pull off something awesome and you want to try, like you're trying to do it by surprising me, don't. I'm there to help you.
Yeah.
And the reality is like, I don't care what you do if I'm the game master. If you're going to try to surprise me, I'm the game master. I can have the rocks fall and you can die at any point in time.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
I always have that option. Like, you're not going to outgame me.
Yes, I have a little more control of this than you do.
Yeah, we're not playing Imperial Assault or Descent.
Right.
I mean, the rules are obviously skewed in the favor of the game master consistently.
Right. I mean, I get annoyed when a player's like, so this beam weapon has a 9 setting? Like, why are you asking me that question?
Yeah, like what are you going for?
Yeah, like what are you going for
yeah,
here?
Once I hear that and I
Right.
hear the apprehension in the voice, I'm like, no, okay, what's the deal?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what are you looking to do? Let's do it.
Yeah, just tell me that thing.
Because that instantly tells me right there that you don't trust me.
Exactly.
And my whole point is I want you to trust me.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, look, you're going to tell me something. I'm going to make you sweat for it. I'm probably not just going to roll over and let you have something for nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you've come up with something really brilliant, and then I'm going to be like, okay, that's happening. I'm probably going to make you roll or sweat for it, but don't try to sneak it past me. I don't like. I'm not a fan of
Like,
that. I want to help you.
Yeah, like your secret plan doesn't matter.
Yeah, and if your secret plan is like, well, I'm gonna turn this thing up to 9 and burn my way through through this door and get out of here before the thing explodes, I'm probably think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna say, okay, make a roll.
Yeah,
Tell me that.
I'm gonna make you roll for
That's
it.
why we have mechanics.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, we're not playing freeform. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this because
Right.
I've played them before and they're fun, but we're not playing a freeform LARP,
Yeah.
right?
Does
Like,
does this spell polymorph anyone?
why?
Yeah. Like why? Why are you asking me this specific question?
Help me help
Right.
you.
I'm gonna say yes, but when you cast it, it polymorphs you too.
Right.
Like, what do you want?
And I would rather tell you that up front. Like, again, interjection. As a wizard, you know if you cast this thing, you're going to get caught in the range of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or you're not sure what the effect of the spell is going to be on that person.
Yeah, or you know what? It's a little wild. I'm going to need you to make a spell check.
Yeah.
DC, like,
Whatever it is, but at least like now we're getting into the game part of it, which is like, well, you're going to make choices, probably spend some resources, maybe make a roll.
Yeah.
Risk something.
yeah, that's the thing I'm going to bring to this. Like,
Yeah.
don't hustle me.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about environmental management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we controlling this environment, Bob? What is some
Players.
Yep.
Manage your shit. Don't bring more than you need to the table.
I don't know.
All
I
right.
like bringing all my shit to the table.
I
yeah,
mean,
but not on the table.
yeah,
that
especially
stays in my bag.
if you're in tight spaces or stuff, or if you've got a number of people around the table and the table's maybe not made for that many people. You take what you need, and you don't need everything, and don't like try and take up more space than.
Person with dice tray, iPad, cards, binder, character sheet.
Yeah.
Like when I go to a con game, like my backpack's pretty big. When I go to a con game, I like take out my shit to play.
Uh-huh.
And like I will take out the dice I need, and then I will put my all rolled up away.
Jerry's like, oops, I keep bringing food and drink.
Food and
Jerry,
drink is okay.
Jerry, just keep bringing the food and drink.
Yeah, food and
It's
drink
cool.
is fine because we'll get to one of my choices in a second. One of my piece of advice in a second, which helps with this. Yeah, so I agree. Organize your shit.
Yep.
Chris?
Pick places to play that make sense for the game and get the most out of the game. So, like, I like to play around a table because I can see everybody. And it's the best way for me to interact with people around me.
Yeah, if you're going to play a focus on a map game, have a space where you can really unroll your map. Like,
Yes.
nothing's worse than, like, we're going to play focus on the map game, but I can only unfold, like, 2 panels of this at a time.
My apartment's actually not the best place for playing focus on map games because I only have one 6-foot by 2-foot table.
Right.
Whatever it is, 4 foot. That's 2 foot. I mean, it would be better if I had 2 6-foot by 2-foot tables I could put next to each other because then the map would fit better and people would have space.
Exactly.
But my apartment's a little too small for that.
Right.
It's a little too narrow for that. But and that's always good. Even so like that's the thing. I don't like playing at couches. We already talked about this. Like
Yeah.
it's a problem for me. For something about engagement, like I get too relaxed.
It's the relaxed part. Like, I'm leaning back right now,
Yeah.
right? Like, engaged for me is forward.
Phil, what about you, man?
Containers.
You do like to have all your shit organized.
I do, because what I don't want to do in the middle of a game, and again, this comes from like my radio training as an undergrad. I don't want dead air.
Yeah.
I don't want to like go looking because I can't find where that deck of cards is. Like, I want my shit out. I want it organized. There's a French term, mise en place, which is how chefs organize their area when they're cooking, so that everything's like accessible. I did a Gnome Stew article on this like a couple of years ago. I very much subscribe to that when I GM my home games. When I run con games, I'm a lot more flexible about where shit is on the table. But my home games, like, everything goes in a specific spot, and then I don't have to think about that, and I'm not fumbling for something. The other thing is, I'm a huge fan, because again, I like to play at tables as well, side tables. So if you know, like, my gaming space, there's like side tables all around it, because I don't like to put like food and drink on the table, and I also like want other things like away from the table.
So we played this game at a breakout con called "Don't Touch My Booty," and there was this glass on the table.
Yep.
In the middle of the table, in the middle of a game where you have to grab things off the table.
And
Yeah.
why we didn't pick that glass up and move it before the game started, none of us will ever know.
We were having too much fun, apparently,
Yep.
Bob.
Blank and clank, clank, clank as the glass went over.
And then there was whiskey on my leg, and there was whiskey on the floor, and there was whiskey on the table.
I mean, that game is spoons.
Yeah.
Like it's just spoons with like an added thing for the win condition.
But it was good.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It should be made. Like that game
It
could
should be.
that should be produced.
it should be a game.
I mean, I've seen enough games that are like basically a simple game that I've seen before that are that is out there. But that game was fun. Anyways, so side tables and chairs, so that we don't have that problem, right? That's why we're looking for it.
Yeah, well, I like so what side tables do for me is the table's going to get cluttered enough already, and the main table everybody bumps anyway, which is why I like drinks off of the main table.
Yeah.
Like, put your drinks on the side tables or your extra stuff. Like, I have a side table for me as a GM where I put like my names book and like a couple of other things. Like, or you've seen, like, I have the rolling cart that has the drawers that has like extra pens and pencils and stuff. Like, I put a couple books on top of that, and then if I need something else, I can go in the drawers and get it. But it keeps it off the main table. I try to keep that main table as decluttered as I possibly can. So I definitely dig side tables whenever possible. All right, that is our talk on table control. It's actually a pretty complex thing, right? It's actually a multi-skill, multifaceted problem.
Yeah.
And it lends itself to a bunch of different skills and techniques. And you are definitely going to develop your own feel for how to do this, right? Every GM finds their way to manage the table, their own way. But we're always open to learning new things.
Yeah. If you have any thoughts or
Yeah, absolutely.
ideas, please let us know. The G Plus community is a great place to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, why don't we hit the chat room up one more time, and then we'll head off for social media.
Tell me about it, Bob.
We are all caught up, actually. They were raptly focusing on the conversation.
It's interesting. You never know which ones. You never know which ones are going to set off a night of like a night of frivolity versus like when they like dig in.
There was a
on
little bit
topic.
of frivolity in there.
Yeah, there was.
There
a
was.
little.
They were having some fun.
Rob Aberzato went off the rails. During
No, I mean, most of the
Iron
time-
Justice
Most of the time, the
conversation.
chat room has a lot of good things to say.
Mo just brought up S5, which is this Japanese workplace organization thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes like S5, like S5 porn, like just the way people organize things, like, oh, it's so peaceful
It's
looking.
Phil right in the fields.
Have you ever seen like when somebody does like a professional cabling job on like for networking racks?
Oh man,
Oh, it's like some of the most beautiful things I've ever
I
seen.
see those things and I go, "That's not real. Nobody's looks
Oh, that's
that
not
nice."
that's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true. My data center that we built.
Yep.
The guys did such an amazing job of cabling it. Like it's so peaceful looking when I look at it. I'm like, oh, these racks are so beautiful.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, I'm having like a little order thing right now. Oof, okay.
He's having a moment.
It's
Moving
okay.
on.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. Moving on up. All right. First thing is we're going to talk about a Kickstarter. I can never pronounce her last name. Elizabeth
Chat Prodigal.
Prodigal. Thank you.
For the win.
Very
right?
nice.
Boom.
Familiars of Terra, a tabletop role-playing game. So discover Terra with your very own familiar animal familiar in this tabletop role-playing game about exploration, adventure, and amazing animals. It looks pretty cool. Like, and you're editing this one, Bob? Or
I will be
proofing?
editing that. Yeah, or
Ed-
proofreading. Sorry.
So this goes with stuff like the Golden Compass, Wild Magic, or shows like Digimon, which I'm into Digimon. So I mean, this is kind of cool. It's got inspirations from Blades in the Dark and Monster Hearts, a few card-based games like Pokemon, and it combines their favorite media and games with their passion for cool animals to make this card-based role-playing game.
It's got some amazing artwork as well.
Yeah, I do. I love it a lot.
Oh, I don't know who the artist is for this, but it's so on point for this game, right? Like it's really good art direction.
So the idea is you're exploring Tyr. This is the continent where your story takes place. You'll encounter new locations to explore and mysteries to unravel. Rather than taking a backseat to the action, your familiar is just as important as your seeker. You play both characters, working in tandem to overcome adversity and accomplish goals. It looks like it's a game about exploring and solving mysteries. Is that the idea?
Yep.
Interesting.
And interacting with your cool animals.
Yeah,
Looks like it's card driven.
and you play with both. You play both characters, right? It seems like that's what
You know,
what
I
gathered
honestly
from
haven't
it.
finished reading through the quick start yet.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm
not
just
100% sure.
from what I just read.
Yeah.
It pretty much said that.
But yeah, standard 52 card deck of cards for conflict resolution.
I'm digging.
Yeah, it's interesting. And maybe in the future, since Bob was working on this, we'll talk about it a little bit more. It's got some days left to it. It's only been out there for it's still got 29 days to
yeah.
go. All right, well, that's Familiars of Terra tabletop role playing game. That's fascinating. I'm quite interested. I mean, I could use me a Pokemon role playing game. Let's go to community chatter. So playing yourself in a role playing game from JJ Lanza doing our community chatter. This question comes from his recent readings and playing at the world and the concept of portal fantasy and fantasy literature. Have you played yourself in a role-playing game or would be very open to playing yourself in a role-playing game? That would be the yes side of it. Or no, you have not and will not play yourself as in a role-playing game. Please explain your choice in the comments of the poll. And then as a bonus, the original Villains and Vigilantes game made the suggestion of playing yourself in the game. Are there any other role-playing games that have made similar suggestions? The End of the World?
Yeah, the ones from Fantasy Flight. That whole series.
Yeah, The End of the World.
Yeah, the Senda and Emily did this. I'm trying to remember which episode it is, but in their backlog they played the Norse,
Yeah, the
Ragnarok.
yeah.
They played the Ragnarok episode and they played themselves. In fact, we were also in it and didn't make it.
Yeah, we died.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you guys did.
I mean, so did you, Bob.
Senda also played herself in the podcast war game of
Reflections.
Yeah.
Yes. We also played ourselves in that absolutely outrageous game that Emily ran.
which one?
The one that started the podcast
Oh
wars.
yeah, that was
With
wasn't it all out of bubblegum?
yes, it was all out of bubblegum.
Yeah.
In the 80s, the Price of Freedom role-playing game, which is the Red Dawn role-playing game, a movie that you are now familiar with, Chris.
Finally.
Finally,
But that movie's better than it has any right to be.
better than it has any right to be. Just remember, when you drink the blood, you are changed permanently. Anyway, the in that game, the Price of Freedom game, they also encourage you to play yourself. So you wind up playing yourselves as freedom fighters in an occupied America, which we did. We were in high school and we were these high school freedom fighters. Which basically our GM then took like all the people we didn't like in school and made them communist sympathizers. So we, then got to, like murder them and stuff.
It's funny.
That happened.
Good times.
So yeah, I was at one point I was a, famous guerrilla leader.
There you go.
Do me a favor and fill some time for a second.
Yeah, I to the best of my recollection, have only played myself in a game once, and it wasn't really truly myself, and that was here on the Misdirected Mark, in that
Oh yeah.
in that short thing that we did for a few sessions with AdNap.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I made a mistake this week because this week has been kind of crazy for me, and I forgot to put the patron shoutouts in there.
oops.
Oh, well, we can just open up the doc and get some names.
I suppose I could do that. That's why I was asking for somebody to vamp for a second while I go do that.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were telling me to be quiet,
No,
not to
no, no,
actually
no,
kill,
no, no,
like
no.
actually pad some time.
Yeah.
I could totally pad some time, open up a thing.
Do that.
Well,
Yeah, so I think the challenge when you are playing yourself is how the mechanics are going to define your stats.
Yes.
That I think is like the big challenge, because you wind up having to try to figure out like who among you is like who's strong and who's smart, and and then there's some things where you have to like also be brutally honest. Like when we played Price of Freedom, now luckily there was point advancement to your stats, but like when we played, I didn't have the high endurance because I can't run that far. Like I was a bigger guy like in high school, not nearly as big as I am now, but it was like, well, physically I'm pretty strong. I'm a smart guy. But yeah, I'm not running no marathons. Like, but over time I like had to put my character advancement points into like when you're running away from the Russians quite frequently, like I got better. So there's that kind of like, it's always interesting, like to figure those things out in the, whatchamacallit, in the, Sasgeek game, the End of the World one of the interesting things is like whatever you have on you is your equipment.
Yeah. Right.
Like whatever's in your purse, your backpack, or whatever, that's your equipment.
Yep.
To which I would, I'm like, sure, no problem. Like,
Oh, never unprepared.
Pat's bag. Like, we're good.
yeah.
Did somebody ask, what it was Wally's asking, was Price of Freedom the game with the horrible hit location table? No, that's top secret aside.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do some Patreon shoutouts.
Oh, there you go. You caught up? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
So James Sweetland, Jen Pixelscapes Gange, JJ Lanza, thank you so much for the topic for chatters that you put out there. Michael Dinos, Ben Wilson, our international correspondent. Brandon Barnes, who just moved. Blake Ryan Batman, Zach Goins, Colin Brook, Troy Sandlin, Corey Johnston, David Morris, Robert Dorgan, Christopher Gray, Will Doyle, and the Mad Wizard Merwin, who patrons us,
There you
even
go.
though he gets paid. It's so weird.
It's awkward, but fun.
Now, strangely enough, like actually, Misdirected Mark Productions patrons that Patreon patrons every other show that has a Patreon in the network. So
Yeah, like
you
we're just
yeah,
recycling our own money.
pretty much.
That's laundering.
It's not maybe a little bit,
That's technically, I think that's
a
laundering.
little bit of laundering.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, thank you everyone so much for listening.
If you are free Tuesday evenings, 8:45 p.m., 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with other listeners in the ever awesome chat room for life, and occasionally ask us some questions.
If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week wherever you get your podcasts, and take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Advanced Insight, Bone Stone Obsidian, Panda Stalking Games, Cyber Speak with Darcy and Troy, The Gnomecast, the Wednesday Evening Podcast All-Stars, Zhang Yu Hustle, Hobbs and Friends of the OSR, and our newest member, She's a Super Geek. You can and should also check out some of our brother podcasts, The Knights of the Night and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
And after you've gotten your table under control, leave us some feedback. You can reach us directly at MMP at misdirectedmark.com. Check out our Facebook group. Hit us up on Twitter. The show and the network is at misdirectedmark. I'm at DNA Phil. He's at Robert M. Everson. And as always, the man who supplies the donuts and the coffee, the Light 101.
Now, real quick, just because I wanted to mention it, like, we have our Patreon. Zhang Yu Hustle has a Patreon. You should go back that because you'll get cool stuff from Eli and Eric. She's a Super Geek has an amazingly good Patreon where you get cool stuff from them. And Hobbs and Friends of the OSR has a wonderful Patreon where if you bid $4 a month, you will get the zine when it comes out quarterly.
Our Patreon network.
Yes, our Patreon network.
Yeah, we should.
We have networks within networks.
Apparently.
Networkception.
Network section.
Yeah, we're yeah.
Well, with that, this has been a Misdirected Mark production. The media arm.
Oh, we
did
missed
I
the
miss
whole
something?
section.
Wait. First of all, you didn't even talk about the epicenter of our social media empire,
Oh,
the
geez,
G Plus community.
Go faster. Sorry, go slower.
No, I couldn't go faster. You started talking
I
about
did.
other Patreons.
I thought you were done.
We were talking about them in the wrong places.
Yeah, I messed up.
We're going long. So the G Plus community? That's a thing?
Yeah, G Plus community. That's the
totally
thing. Go
thing?
check it out.
Is that-
all signal, less no
all
static.
single, no
Yeah,
static.
there you go.
Yeah.
All single, no noise.
And hey, if you like what we do here and any other shows in the Misdirected Mark, Misdirected Mark, word scramble. Thanks, Chris. You made me want to rush. If you like what we do here on the other shows in
Hey,
the
Bob,
Misdirected Mark
Bob,
Network,
slow down.
you can support our Patreon
right.
campaign at patreon.com/MMP. Patrons get access to the after show, pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Pandas Talking Games, bonus outtakes, and other special releases.
Oh, don't forget that you also get access from $4 and up to our Slack community.
Slack channel.
Slack channel for life, maybe.
Yeah.
Booyah.
All right, insert all that stuff I said about Patreons here, which is where I should have put it. My bad. Well, with that, this has been a Misdirected Mark production, which is the media arm of Encoded Designs. Mic drop.
We out.
Do 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 do.
Welcome to the after show.
The after show.
The after show.
Very nice.
I make fun of Senda screwing up the 100 episodes. The thing about us screwing up like at 300 is that we actually have a script. If we just stick to it, the ending goes fine. The thing with pandas is the pandas, if you've ever looked at the notes, we don't actually script the ending. It just has bullet points of what we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've just gotten after 100 episodes into the habit of just saying it the same way every time.
Yeah.
There you go.
But there's no reading. Like there's no like that's how we keep introducing
we
mistakes.
have scripts.
Yes.
But we also modify our scripts.
Yeah,
on
we
the
just
fly.
sometimes we just go
Yeah, we go
wandering off
off
script.
the
Yeah,
rails.
I mean
Yeah.
that's part of the fun of the.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean we've done this thing so many times now.
yeah.
All right. Now I should conjure me some Haagen-Dazs.
Oh man, if we didn't have Paula's, I'd be interested in conjuring some Haagen-Dazs, but Paula's was good.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you,
a good
Chris.
No problem.
That was good stuff.
There's still 2 left in there.
Apparently apparently
God.
Phil was like feels like the boss is buying us donuts and coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not the boss. I'm
You're not the boss of me.
like I'm not the first among equals because I have a partner these days who is
You're like the 2 among equals.
yeah.
Like,
Sure, I'll go with that because
Phil's number 2.
Senda's all up on all of the stuff in Misdirected Mark Productions these days. But I was like, I'm like the architect. I just kind of help put everything together and manage things.
I managed to crank out the show notes in 2 days. So here's what happened. I had that crazy week last week. So I didn't get the show notes started like we normally do after we, finished recording with Mark. And so it gets to be like Saturday. And so I think on Friday, I'm like, hey, I haven't gotten anything out for the show notes. And you're like, no problem, I got it.
I was gonna have it.
Right. And then you didn't get it. And so it's like Monday, and I'm like, we don't have any show notes.
Well,
and you're like
Sunday night.
Sunday.
I'm like, I don't have show notes because I haven't figured out a topic yet. What about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah. And then I'm like, so like Monday, I'm writing it, and I'm like, Chris, is this what you mean? Like I wrote you this stuff, and you're like, yes, that's exactly what I mean. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Like, so I hammered out like the notes in 2 days, which is actually possible. I just don't often like to do it in 2 days. I like to do it over the course of a week. But I'm fine doing it like in a pinch. In a pinch, we can totally throw it together. Oh, did Jason get to hear his ad?
I don't think he did. Maybe
Oh
he did.
no.
He could have.
I mean, he said thanks for humoring me for the bespoke ad.
I mean,
at
we
the
totally
start.
did it at the start. Yeah.
Oh, I had fun doing it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
All of the poutine
All of the poutine.
references. Anyway.
Yes. By the way, Jason would have, when we went to lunch last week or dinner last week, and we saw that Jim's Stakeout had quote poutine.
It wasn't poutine.
No, that was heretical poutine
Yeah,
because it had
heretical.
like cheddar cheese. I know this now because of Jason. Like I know that that's not even close to real poutine. Like it's not even trying. So, what else is going on here? What's going on with Mike? Oh, Chris's Mike nuts. You're like
Chris
one of those.
uses his
You're like one
sack
of those
to balance
pickup
the mic.
trucks.
Yeah.
Is my mic off camera?
The
yes.
back. Yes.
Oh,
it
because
is.
nobody knows how my mic is being held up.
I mean,
Hang on.
they've seen it before. I've had it in the shots before.
Yeah, everybody knows
Yeah.
you shibari'd it.
I shibari'd the shit out of this thing, and the thing is, now it stays in place
That's right.
because
Look, Eileen's in the chat room.
It's a good
Hi,
mic
Eileen.
stand.
well, it's a good mic stand. Good mic stand.
It behaves, right?
It behaves because I tied it up.
Yep, and told it what to do.
Yes.
Oh man, these are
That's
the,
a thing.
These are the jokes, people. These are the jokes.
For people in the chat room, first of all, hi Eileen,
Hello.
and happy move, Eileen and Brandon. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, a month ago,
Yeah.
but yeah.
no, but I mean, like, you don't like. Yes, you physically move, and then you like keep unpacking forever.
There's
That's
always
true.
another box.
Yeah. 2 weeks from now, we will be joined by Alex Roberts,
We will.
who is
Yes.
going to come on and talk to us as her Kickstarter launches. So we're going to have an awesome talk. Alex and I are kind of talking. We talked to Breakout. We're starting to come up with ideas for topics.
Yeah. What are we talking about exactly?
With Alex?
Yeah.
I'm still hashing it out with her, but we might be talking about bleed first mechanics.
Yeah. What are we talking about next week?
I don't know.
We're going to talk about the thing that we talked about today.
Interjections.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Is that really a whole show?
Yeah, I don't know yet. That's why I got to mull it over.
Don't think it is.
I know. I'm not committed to it.
Because here's how the schedule of recording goes. Next
Uh-huh.
week is whatever we do.
And then
the week after that is
Alex.
Alex Roberts. And the
Yep.
week after is that, we're going to play High Plains Samurai.
Yeah.
High Plains Samurai.
I'm totally down for playing High Plains Samurai. I can't wait to see how it works.
Or it's going to be, we're going to be in a different space in this house, too.
Uh-huh.
We're going to
Yep.
be sitting in the dining room
Right.
At a table.
With multiple cameras.
with multiple
I
cameras.
feel like we really need to test this shit out.
We're going to test it next week before
Okay.
the show. We're going to order pizza or something.
Oh, okay. And then just like have some pizza and like and practice.
Yep.
Okay,
Or-
cool.
In fact, we might even stream that part live so that people can
Yeah,
like,
that's
see
fun.
how we're doing it.
Hey,
and, like, give
this is us.
feedback.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Awesome.
We're going to be like, look, we're just messing around trying to get stuff set up.
So so I'm what you call it?
Next week is Emily's birthday. So Emily, what's the topic?
There
Oh,
you go.
yay, Emily, you tell us the topic.
Yeah.
We'll write it for you.
Yeah. What do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
What do you need? What do you want? What do you want? What ridiculousness can we provide? I feel like she's going to give us something way out there.
Well, listen, we once did a whole show on encumbrance. I feel like
That's true.
festivals and parties in RPGs.
All right, that's what we're doing.
Yes, I'm just trying to make sure I haven't done this topic somewhere else.
If we have, we've never done a misdirected mark.
We haven't. Yes, but since I write most of the notes, we want to make sure I don't bleed over. I'm pretty sure that's a panda episode.
Bonus dinner episode for patrons only. That's a good idea. That'll be the. Oh man, I bet we can stream it on the Patreon too, because you can do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Patreon
That's
has
cool.
a streaming function.
Yeah.
Oh, Senda said it. We did that on pandas already.
Pandas isn't real.
No, it's real. It's so real.
Oh, it's real.
We could still do it. We can do an MMP version of it.
All right. I'll go dig out the pandas notes and make sure I don't.
Cat?
He's sleeping. He's like serious. Podcat was serious sleeping.
This cat is like
That
he
was like
making weird
nap
noises
time, and you
stuff.
interrupted it.
Yeah, he's looking at you like, what? What?
I will
bro?
claw you, Human.
He's like one of those things where like you wake somebody up from because they're snoring. They're like, what? What was I snoring?
Damn it, man!
That's an easy question.
I had
for
just
me.
caught the wily little rabbit that runs around that had the catnip inside of it, and I was about to tear into it, and then you woke me up.
Is Phil snoring? Was
There
Phil
wasn't-
wearing his mask?
There wasn't a single festival in our Avanti game, I don't think. So Emily was just like, people always wonder what I'm going to do as a DM or a GM, and she's like, there was always going to be a festival involved. I don't remember there being a single festival in our Avanti
Uh-oh.
game.
Ooh.
Sounds like a challenge for next one.
She said not true. I'm curious as to what was the
Yeah.
what was the festival then?
Eileen right. She should have had her birthday last week with the rest of us.
That's right.
It would have been a huge birthday
That's
week.
right. Happy birthday, Eileen. Let's see. I'm still looking. I know there's a festival one in here.
What did we do? I can't remember.
Spoilers.
I just don't remember what it was. I mean, we came back to the family thing at one point in time. I mean, we sailed around a bunch. There was the time we were on that really cool flotilla island thing. Was it a birthday? Well, there was a funeral. That was a thing that happened.
Jesus, Senda, what episode did we do festivals on?
Of course, we sailed around a bunch, Rob. It was a pirate game. Like, we were on a ship. We were on a boat.
It was a huge communal gathering.
Oh, she's talking about the funeral. Okay.
I don't know if I consider that a celebration.
Phil, you only have
Unless-
100 episodes. How hard can it be to find
I'm
one?
going back through them.
Yeah, and Sunday was good and got them all up there, unlike me with Mr.
Aw.
and Mark, because I only got like 20 of them up there, like 10 of them up there, 20 of them up there, and she did the rest of them so far.
I guess a funeral is a celebration if you really don't like who died.
Or a good Irish wake.
Yes. No, it's not this far. Damn it.
Yep, apparently we have to do an episode on festivals, like the
Okay.
different kinds of
The
festivals
festivals.
and holidays.
Festivals are super diverse.
All right. I'll do it.
I'll help. Maybe. You know what I'll help on Monday. That's because that's how it always goes.
Ange says she thinks your festival holiday episode was around Christmas time during your first year.
Yeah, that seems to make some sense.
TV shows. I finished Jessica Jones, Wally.
Oh, man, I haven't even fucking started Jessica Jones.
We don't have to do what? We're totally doing an episode on festivals and holidays. That's our episode next week.
I know it's not that it's a problem doing it. It's more of a problem that I don't write the same episode again.
Yeah.
I don't think of these things clearly. Like once I write an
All right,
episode,
let's talk real quick. What do festivals do in games?
right? They establish the culture of games.
They establish a culture.
Yep.
They provide a large gathering place for a number of people.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you have crowds and you have people around. You have customs and things like that you have to show off for the culture.
Jerry's got a good little list here. They're a great chance for downtime, backstory, role playing, adding hooks, and non-combat challenges.
They are a good setting for that. They're a setting. They're a setting.
Yeah.
They're a way to change your setting to create a slightly different setting within your setting.
Episode 71, Pandas. You want to talk about holidays and festivals in your games?
The Festival of Fairy Lights and Sausages. That sounds good.
We can't talk about Jessica Jones 2. Phil hasn't seen a single episode yet.
Yeah.
I will cut you all. I will burn the internet.
There's got to be, what is gameable about a festival? I mean, Jerry had a good list there for that stuff. But what else is gameable about festivals?
What's gameable?
Yeah.
So I mean, it depends, right? So festivals can be a place where one shows off prowess. Like you might have like a joust.
Yeah, that's the non-combat challenges.
What else is gameable? Festival can also be the backdrop for something else that's going on. Like, hey, we're doing this heist.
Oh man,
But
but
it's-
Christmas. Christmas is a great. Like, we always see Christmas movies that are
Die
Yep.
Hard.
heists in them.
There
yeah.
you go.
Right. Right in the. Damn it.
Yep.
Okay.
Emily's right. Shady groups of people. Usually shady deals go down within large groups of people. It's good camouflage.
Or you want to get everybody together for the holiday to figure out which one's the murderer.
Not only that, often festivals are times of conjunction, so bigger magic can tend to be going down during those times
you
if you're
go.
playing in a fantasy game, or even in a modern fantasy game. Like heck, man, most of the important things in the Dresden Files go down on Halloween
Yep.
for reasons.
For reasons.
Because reasons.
Yeah, like you can use it. So you can use it for stake setting, right? Like you can raise the stakes by having something occur during a holiday festival.
We don't want to do the whole show here.
No,
in the
we're
after
just
show.
we're just brainstorming ideas at the moment. To see
I'm
what
not.
those-
I'm just reading the pandas notes from
Oh.
episode 71. I will come up with a completely different approach.
Did you hear?
for-
Were my ideas on your list
Yeah.
too? Of course they were.
Right.
I didn't even listen to your episode.
It's you and I are drift compatible.
I mean, yeah.
Like You over 3 years.
We could get into a Jaeger and walk it around and do some damage. I'm not the most drift compatible, but I am drift compatible.
Yes. Yeah, we could definitely wreck some scenery with a Jaeger. Yeah.
It would have to not be a Panda Jaeger though.
No, my Panda Jaeger has a different drift compatible pilot. Yeah, the Panda Jaeger.
We would have like a Bard Jaeger.
Ours is like playing a guitar.
Playing
guitars.
It's a rocker boy Jaeger.
Oh. We would have the three armed one that they had in the first movie.
That'd be cool. The three of us. We'd be in the
there you go.
What is it? Crimson Typhoon, right?
Crimson Typhoon, and then I'd jump out and I'd go and jump in the other one with Rob Abrazato because he and I are like totally in sync.
Yes, I'm telling you, man. Rocker boy Jaeger, right? Like,
There you go.
Bob can be the guitar.
Why have I not hacked
Jaeger
lasers?
boy.
Why have I not hacked lasers and feelings into a Jaeger kaiju game yet?
I don't know. Well, because you got a whole other game that
The
you can just use.
hilarity. By the way, at Origins, I am going to run Rocker Boys and vending machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one session. We did the scheduling. I'm going to run 2 turning points and 2 hydro hackers and 1 Rocker Boys and vending machines. Senda's going to run 2 turning points, 1 hydro hackers,
Nice.
one last job, and Love and Justice.
Nice. I'm gonna run a couple sessions of Sequence,
Nice.
and then I'm gonna run some Dungeon World
kick ass.
because it's been a while.
We're going to put those all under one banner, right?
Yes.
Good.
And hopefully, if other Misdirected Mark hosts want to run games, I think Hobbs is going to run some of his Kalamata live.
Nice.
Which that Kalamata, like he got permission because it's sort of based on somebody else's stuff. Got permission from that person. That's going to be a product in the future. Yeah. So there's going to be all kinds of Misdirected Mark encoded designs. Goodness.
This is actually like the most I've ever run at a con, but I'm totally down with. I really want to I want people to play Turning Point, and two, I'm forcing myself to keep running Hydro Hackers until I finish the fucking book.
There you go.
So my penance
Yep.
for not finishing writing
running
is
the game.
I just have to. I have to keep writing. I have to keep running it. Now I do have to say I made Redwater Blues more exciting for myself because I created all new locations.
Nice.
Which was a lot of fun. It was fun. One, I made new locations, and I was like, oh, thank God, I was able to come up with more locations because it'll be good to have more potential ones for the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it changed the game for me because it added it took out all the scenes and put in all new ones, and all the new ones were totally fun to do. I was very disappointed that the Canadian players did not choose the Ontario Liberation Front to launder their water.
Yeah.
They literally thought, they were like, I don't know, that group seems too radical. I'm like, you're Canadian. Like, they live in occupied America because of the war. And they're like, yeah, but their ideology might be too strong for us.
Oh, that's funny.
I was dying laughing. I was like, then I stopped and I was like, no, actually, that seems actually like fairly Canadian. Like they were really polite about the whole.
Hey, if anybody wants to run games under the Misdirected Mark banner, I need your events in the next day.
Yeah, if you want to be under our, because we're gonna bulk load them, right?
And by the way, registration, submitting events ends in 3 days.
Yes.
So if you want to run games at Origins, you need to do it. Let us know. Get on the schedule. I'm submitting our events tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm really happy. I got it. I'm really happy it got done. Senda was a huge help. She scheduled both of us. I was super stressed out, and it was oh my God, we have to do this thing. And she's like, can I help out? Can I try to put the schedule together and show you what it is? And I'm like, yes, please. Please. And she did. She put it all together, and then I looked at it, and I was like, yes, I'm totally down for running all this stuff on these days, and let's do it.
Oh yeah, so my Airy Peaks game, I'm going to run Airy Peaks at Origin. So if you've heard about the Airy Peaks, if you actually want to play an Airy Peaks game, not Novex Castle games, that's what I've been running mostly lately. You might want to get in on that.
Nice.
So we got a couple of minutes left. What do we want to talk about?
Phil, you need to look up
Topics.
the FLQ.
Topics. Anybody got topics?
I need to look up what?
The FLQ.
Oh, I'm gonna go a little research right now.
Yeah, I should probably put a post in the G Plus community about this Origins deadline.
Yeah, you might want
That
to.
might be a thing. Be like, hey y'all, I'm gonna submit this
I think I know what this is.
like on Thursday.
Oh yes, I actually do know. This is what is it? Front de Liberation de Quebec. Yep.
Is that anything like the Asian Dawn?
I read that in time.
We have we an MM room at Origins, like our own room for Misdirected Mark stuff. No, that's not a thing that's happening.
that
this
would
year.
be cool. As
That is a
stuff.
thing that I am going to be looking into to getting for in future cons.
Right. How do we talk to somebody at Origins to find out how we obtain?
Yeah, like how many hours worth of game do we need to run and all
Correct,
that good
because then
stuff.
we will go do that.
Yeah.
Because having a MM room would be like the coolest shit ever.
MM/encoded/ whatever.
But just it's fine, whatever you want to call it, but it'd still be
We'll
the
just
coolest
throw it
shit
under
ever.
the Misdirected Mark banner. It's fine. I mean, there's a fucking.
Oh,
shit
this
ton
is
of
the.
us.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this. All right. So I'm now going to do a quick reading. This is why.
What are we talking about?
Jason's explaining to me why there was some hesitation about the Ontario Liberation Front.
Later, Eric. Eric.
Interesting.
And you can call me Kitten whenever you want. That's fine. He said, "All right, Kitten's got to run."
Say what? Oh, there it is. I see it. Oh, is Wally going to try to make QCC?
No, he said GameholeCon, I think. Or
GCC.
Maybe
There's been a
that's
couple of
QCC.
references.
Maybe he
to
means
GCC.
QCC.
That's
yeah,
why
he
I
probably
asked.
means QCC.
Wally, you want to come out to Buffalo? Come out to QCC.
Yeah, come on
Yeah.
to Buffalo.
September.
So here's the thing for QCC for people. Like, so, one, the Kickstarter is coming. That's the thing I forgot to announce in the announcement section. I got to remember to do that shit. Like, hey, man.
You got a little
Kickstarter.
more time.
Yeah.
Not too much time.
Kickstarter is coming.
Kickstarter is coming. Oh, come on out. Hey, we're going to try to get as many people out here from Misdirected Mark as we can. For me, one, if you're a member of Misdirected Mark Productions, like the network, like we'll try to supplement if you want to come out hotel room wise. We'll try to supplement some of that. Also, some people I'm going to just let stay in my house. Like I already have I have room really for like 3 people in my space. Maybe 5 if Phil lets me borrow his air mattress.
Yep.
So then people could sleep on the air mattress. So there's that. I mean,
I may or may not have space. We'll find out as time progresses.
so there's that. Yeah, but like I know Angie's probably gonna come into town and she's gonna stay at the hotel, and I'm gonna try to like folks like her that are coming from out of town that I can set some money aside to maybe get them a night at the hotel.
That's
off.
nice.
And hopefully like not like if I'm going to do that, like hopefully I'll just get Angie with a couple of other people that are Misdirected Mark folks, so that we can have Misdirected Mark rooms and such. That is where I'd like to go with that. That's what I'm going to do for Origins, because we have 2 rooms at Origins right now. So that's a
awesome.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for Origins.
So Origins right now, it's the one room is me, Bob, and Jason Hobbs. So we have like a slot open in that room still.
Nice.
So I'm not sure who's coming out for that, but that's going on right now. Anybody else that's going to Origins that's going to participate in some sort of Misdirected Mark thing, like you should let me know if you're a Misdirected Mark person, like not just a listener, but you're actually participating in like making stuff with us.
Yeah.
Nothing against you folks that are coming out. We want to hang out with you.
Venn
too.
diagrams.
Yeah.
Are you in the gnome stew pile? Are you in the encoded pile? Or are you in the misdirected pile? Or are
Yeah.
you in all 3?
Yeah, because like
What hotel
I will
are
probably
we at?
find you some cash for like supplementing your stuff. If you're doing stuff for the network, I'm going to supplement your stuff because that's what we do. Which hotel are we at? I'd have to go look it up.
We're not in one of the attached ones, are we?
No, God, no. That's too expensive. Our hotels are actually pretty cheap, like reasonably priced to be there the entire time. And we're there Wednesday till Monday.
Yeah.
And
We'll
how
check-
close is it?
It's the same hotel we stayed at last year.
Oh, it's the same hotel we stayed at last year. It's like a 5-minute Uber in and
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
I was actually
because that's the one you told me to get, so I went and got rooms at that hotel.
Yeah, I mean, we Ubered in and out of that place, and that's the same place that Brett stayed at, Wayne Humfleet stayed at.
Yeah.
Because that was
I'm looking it up right now, everybody. So just give me a second for.
yeah, Jerry's got across the street. We probably we should try later for across the street stuff. But for this year, like I had no problem with that.
We don't have the money.
Yeah,
for
that was a short. That was a short.
No, the
run.
Lyft. Like I used Uber and Lyft to get in and out of there. Super easy.
We are at the Comfort Suites Columbus.
Okay, same place as last year.
That's that you.
Those rooms were nice.
What
Yeah.
you told me was I think what I booked whatever you told me was the hotel from last year.
Oh well, then that's the
So I'm
yeah.
pretty
Well,
sure.
and
that's
that place
hotel
had the
from
free
last year.
breakfast.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It has
So
free
it actually,
breakfast.
I mean, so you can drive in. Bob drove in every morning and had no problem parking in the garage.
Yep.
I Ubered in a couple times, and that was super easy. Like, I mean, it was not hard to get an Uber in Columbus, and the distance is not far. Like,
Yeah, and the price isn't that bad for 5 nights. For the one room is like $665, not including tax. Though.
yeah, that's not bad at all.
So that is our origin plan so far.
I mean, truthfully, Origins was it was easy to stay the whole day. There's plenty of spaces to kind of sack out if you need some downtime, like from walking around. The food around the convention center is amazing.
Oh yeah, that's in such a good spot.
Uh-huh. God, I'll be sad. I don't know if the timing works out. We might not have another Pride parade, like in the middle of the convention. The Pride parade was
fun.
It was awesome.
We had a good old time. Like we essentially took over that one area of the convention center.
Oh, I know that one space. We
Yeah.
took all the chairs and rearranged them. That's not uncommon for us.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to start doing Origins as our main con over Gen Con, because the amount of time we got to spend interacting with our people and with other designers, and just like we were just constantly hanging out and gaming with people just
Apparently,
on the fly.
Brucadia is already set aside again at 8:00. The place that we went last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
The pinball and the video games and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mo's already got it.
Yep.
So
We love Mo.
we can do that then.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a get together thing.
We didn't, but Mo's got
Hey,
one.
we got one now apparently.
Thanks, Mo.
So is that the thing? Like we're gonna do Brucadia?
I'm totally down with doing Bricadia.
Brucadia on Friday night, 8:00. Is that what? Should I
Sure.
just be talking about that right now?
I'm totally down with that.
Mo, you have to let me know if that's a thing.
And then of course there's the big bar on 2.
Big bar on 2.
Yep, that's a thing. So here we go. Mo, can I just say that's the official Misdirected Mark meetup?
Oh, Pride is the same weekend again. Come on.
Night, Eileen.
Night.
Night, Eileen.
I love the after show. By the way, Eileen's going to bed, so that's a thing. Mo, you're just gonna let me know if I could just be like, "Hey, Misdirected Mark is going to be at Brucadia, 8 p.m. Like everybody that can come is going to be there,
That's pretty fantastic.
and we'll be there till 10 or 11,
Mhm.
playing pinball and such."
I like my what you call it. I'm pleased.
Yes.
With,
All right,
I'm
that's the
pleased,
thing.
I'm pleased with this backpack. This is going to be a good. This is going to be a good pack for. This is going to be a good pack for the con.
It looks like it's a solid backpack, right?
The 12, yeah, the
Yeah.
Rush 12, yeah. I like this backpack. The shoulder straps are it's super comfortable. Like when it even fully loaded, when it sits on my back, like it's not a burden. Like it's really comfy bag.
These are not.
That reminds me, I need to buy the attachable water bottle for my other bag.
Oh yeah. Do you need like the adjustable
The
one, or do you
holder
need the
to put my water
Camelback?
bottle in? I have a Camelback Eddy, so I just need something to put that
Oh
in that
well,
attaches.
Camelback makes a Molly pouch that fits their
There we
bottles.
go. I just need to remember to get one.
Yeah, it's nice, and it completely covers the bottle. I probably for Origins will strip off. I have 2 side pouches on this bag. I'll do what I did for Breakout. I'll take one of them off and put my water bottle holder onto the side so that I have water. I have water packed onto this bag as well.
I don't know if we'll need more than 3 tables for that. Maybe we will. I don't know. It might get.
I don't remember how big the tables were.
We might have to kind of put up a thing where people could
sign.
at least
At least
indicate an
they're going
intention.
to- yeah, like, we'll put up a poll at some point.
Yeah,
right?
it's hard to like get people to commit solidly, but
Yeah.
there's probably a handful of people that are probably going to be like hardcore yeses, and then
Yeah.
we can work from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's like 10:53. We all got things to do in the morning, like work and such, and then more work after that, and then podcasts to make and games to write
And
and all
more
that
work.
good stuff. But thank you all so much for being here this evening. All you
Yeah.
folks that are listening to us in the after show on the Patreon, thank you for listening to us and patroning us. And we will catch you next week when we are talking about festivals and holidays in games for Emily on her birthday.
Uh-huh. All right.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
night.